non-agenda item in the room, online? Jeff, do you have anything? Okay, so you're here, of course, with fire lights.
Yep.
Okay.
Still waiting for HOH to respond to our offer.
Okay. Quick reminder, cell phones off. And we'll call the regular meeting to order. Go around the table of conflict of interest. Start with Al.
None.
But think about that for a minute.
Let me bring up another topic. I've decided that after 22 years, 20 or something, time to retire. So as of next Tuesday or next meeting, I think will be my final one. And we'll go through whatever procedures we need to go through. It's been a long haul, but a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of things coming together. So it's about time to move on.
What a history. Thanks so much for hanging in there. That's a long term. I don't know anyone who's going to break that one.
Yeah, 2001, Terry started neck and neck, so 25 years.
Yeah.
You hold the record, and I know the last 3 years for me have been, I have a ton of respect for you. Thank you. I know you give me crap for calling you Mr. Fast, but that's just how I was brought up. So, but like I said, serving that long on the board, you can't get out of here without a goodbye. So we'll plan something for here in a couple of months and send you off and stop.
Okay, thank you.
Just a big thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dick.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey. Peter, any conflicts?
None.
I don't know if you just caught that, but that was Dick retiring. So
Yeah, I know. We're gonna miss you, Dick. And
so make that next meeting there, Peter, if you can.
yeah, well, I'll be here and I'll be there for the party.
Okay. So we get conflict of interest out of the way. Let's jump right into the consent agenda. Minutes. Financial report.
Okay. The financials we're again ahead of budget year to date for revenues, and also ahead for expenses. So things that are up, office and professional, obviously legal, plant operation expenses, treatment plant maintenance, biosolids disposal, as you all are aware, those costs are up, and then pond maintenance. So just marginally up, but definitely up. The other two things that I would like to just mention is that our consumer confidence report is on our website for 2025. It'll be going out in the next billing cycle too, just letting everyone know that that's there, and it's published in the newspaper. So I just wanted to let everyone know publicly that the water consumer confidence report is on our website. So check that out.
Can I add something to that real quick? So we did do PFAS testing, and our results are also on our website. And I've also talked with DEQ in the state, and we're honoring those EPA tests that we've already done. So it's doing some confirmation with DNRC at this point in time, because we have a couple other entry points that we do not use, Lone being one of them. And then the other one was Cascade 5 and 6, which we don't bring into the system for water production. So I sent confirmation to him yesterday on that. So as far as our PFAS testing compliance, right now we are compliant not only with the EPA, but also the states.
So 5 and 6 are not part in this system here.
Yeah, we don't bring them into the system into the high sulfides.
Okay.
Okay, and then as you may have all read in the newsletter, the monthly newsletter that just went out, we're changing our irrigation restrictions to match the
Probably got the bias this morning.
Science from Montana State University. So we had the irrigation restrictions will be similar to what they were before, but there's no evening irrigation, and it's only in the morning. It's the best time, the least amount of it's the best soaking in. And so I encourage everyone to go out to the website and read those MSU instructions. I think it's super informative.
I read your point, it was great.
We're gonna I'm in the process of getting new signs, so they're not up yet. So that's why you're asking me if we're in effect. We are in effect. I'm just getting new signage.
So in the past, it was odds and evens depending on your address.
Yep, that's still the same.
And it was a morning and a night.
Right.
And now it will be morning.
Morning.
What will the hours be in the morning?
I think that's a good question. I shouldn't have.
4 to 8 or
4 to 8. Yeah, I think that's it. It's 4.
4 to 8.
Yeah.
And everybody does that from 4 to 8, do we have enough supply to cover?
Yes.
See, that was 2 a days. And
Right now, I mean, we're
now it's 1 a
close to
day.
capacity, I would say. So we're monitoring it closely right now because we may have to put full restrictions in if we increase anymore, but we're working really hard to mitigate some leaks.
Yeah, that major leak has caused us to turn wells 4 and 5 on sooner. And we hope that once we get that buttoned up, then man to go back down there. But yeah, they kind of, it is hard a lot sooner this year with irrigation.
I figured you guys might have the math, but it's to everybody from that time, it's a lot of water.
It is, yeah.
It's interesting, yeah, to go straight through like that versus morning and night. So
How do we, first I'll get the word out. So people that don't live here that have it on our map,
right.
get it changed.
So I will just say that I am gonna be looking, because I can see the usage. So in particular, the HOAs that were watering every day last year and I'm watching now.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna be putting notices out so that people understand.
can we get something in the paper?
Yeah,
How about in the billing? Can you still get something out in the billing?
absolutely.
Billing would be the best one because that's going to be July.
So when we did our strategic planning and we surveyed our customers, they all asked us to email them. So that's where
Great.
kind of the birth of the newsletter was. But I think in this newsletter as well, we'll just keep hammering on it maybe too a little bit, but yeah, I'll put it in the paper.
You had a recommendation go out in the last couple of weeks, didn't you? That said we recommend because of fungus or whatever it was at night. So that went out.
Yes.
And I caught it and I literally loaded the morning. Now I'm gonna load the full morning and get in compliance.
Yeah, I think I'll just put it in this next newsletter too, but I'll look at the paper. We'll see.
I think the water, can you do a blast notice on your water smart?
We can, yeah.
That's the best tool you'll ever have. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, the water smart.
Everybody will read that.
Oh, you get a notice on your water smart, you got it.
Yeah.
Barbara Raleigh came over the house the other day and said, yeah, what an incredible notice. She had some landscapers come over and they just left a garden hose on. Forever. I mean, she was out of town and she got the notice, so.
Okay.
Dave Trailer got a note.
Dave Trailer, he's 1-800, he's got us on them on speed dial. Dave,
I'm in the person with them every day, all set today.
But about that landscaping. He wants landscaping along the corridor. I'm going on record because he told me that we need some landscaping on the entry corridor for the ponds. Evergreens, because the moose will cross the road for the deciduous trees.
Is Dave's inside his property or is that somewhere else?
Across the street, isn't
Yeah, it's off the main.
Okay.
it? You saw that hole.
So we know where the leak is.
We have fixed one of the leaks on his service line.
Okay.
We're looking at going back. There's been multiple repairs to that service line over the years. So if time allows, we might choose to replace the section of that service line and take out a bunch of those couplings. But we are chasing the main now. It's going to be AC pipe, and we are far past our easement. So we're now in two people's front lawns as we look to chase the leak. But we seem to have water coming from two sides. So we'll continue on today.
That's a old pipe, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
It's
original.
old big sky, that's probably early 70s.
Yeah.
We do have that in our CIP for 6,000 linear feet for 2 lanes to be replaced here in the next 10 years.
Mhm.
that reinforces that CIP. Yeah. All right.
Along that line, something not relevant to the water, but got a guy up in Aspen Groves that's really working on invasive weeds. We've got that easement that goes up from the poop chute up to our tank. Who's responsible for weed control on those? It's our easement,
It's our easement, but it'd be the property owner.
the HOA. Okay.
Yeah, we actually just went through all of that and defining our property because we have to mitigate the weeds on our property, but
Not on the easement.
not on
Okay.
easements.
You know, you see it come in, Dick, is if there's any work done, like when that fiber rock pit came in, it was unbelievable. Not just weeds just went right along.
Yeah.
Because they supported, with the equipment. In this case, it's good to know that you have that on your radar so that if you are up doing some work in an area and you have to reclaim that area, that you should get in there and do that prevention or mitigation.
Okay, I'll go back to the HOA and tell them.
Okay.
Mhm.
Amy?
Sorry to be rushed.
You're good, that's it, that's what I have.
All right,
Operating report.
you got it.
Okay. So we can jump right into the operating report, get you guys a couple major updates. The Allmax software for data management system is going really well. We're in the final stages of just getting a couple district requests in for some of our water information management, but we're looking to go live hopefully within the first half of July. So very exciting, very promising. We've got a little bit of review to do with them. Myself, Garrett, and AE2S are taking a look at those sheets that they've developed. But all is good news. Very excited to have it. Like I said, it should be live in July. We'll have pretty significant data dump to do, but outside of that, that system is on its way to being completed. It'll be functional for the system, and that should really shore up our data management issues and give all parties interested a lot better access to the data from the facility. OpenGov asset management is also going well. We have a go live of August for that. So we added a little bit of time with bringing on the new operations supervisor and myself so that we have more time learning the foundational building part of asset management and not just the user side. So that is going well. We've got WRF, we've got all the water assets in. At this point, we should be live by September 1st. So that'll be great to have those two systems functional and online. Let's drop in here to the good stuff. Yes. Right. So last month, pretty solid month, 9.8 million gallons treated. Facility is operating wonderful, 99.6% BOD removal, 99.99% TSS removal. Our average reuse water total nitrogen was 1.18. Out of the new NBR facility, there's not much more we can ask for. This is pretty exceptional water treatment. So we did receive 29.7 tons of BOD, and we removed 29.58 tons. We received 30.5 tons of TSS, and we removed 30.49. So fantastic month of operation for the work. Any questions on process?
Clark, I believe I know the answer to this, but as I talk to people and try to explain this, when we remove everything from that water, what happens to it?
It's converted from one form to another, or it becomes biosolids.
And then it gets sent to the landfill.
Yes, to be composted.
Or said another way, for anyone in our district, anything they put into their sink, we have to take out.
That is correct. That is correct. So great work, no major failures at the treatment plant. We still continue to work on streamlining MSAs, training, policies, procedures. As you can see by the numbers, though, the team is doing a great job managing the facility, taking on new requests, new operational guidelines, but their performance is shown right there in those numbers. And like I said, you can't ask for better numbers than that. That is well within A1 limits. That is probably some of the best water in the state. And we continue to achieve levels that even surprise some of our engineering friends. So we appreciate their partnership. AE2S has been great, but really good month. taking a look at pond storage and reuse water. We made the switch technically June 4th. So we are done for the time being pumping to YC. We are now pumping to the Spanish Peaks ponds. So far this year, we've moved 41,401,000 gallons of water as the date this report was generated. Systems are all running good. So we will now be pumping to Spanish Peaks.
And that's year to date since Jan 1.
That is year to date since January.
That's great.
Did you see Ryan Graff come in? Okay, great.
Taking a look at irrigation, which is also up and running. This one's just been as needed. We haven't had a huge demand. I think the weather's about to turn, but we've worked with the irrigation. So we have rebuilt all our irrigation pumps. We had to install a brand new booster pump that had to be redesigned to actually meet demands. We've gone through these controls. We fixed some PID control issues that weren't favoring our equipment, but worked with Big Sky Resort, the golf course team has been fantastic. We have pumped just under 3.5 million gallons over to the golf course. I imagine that their production with the sunshine coming out, they're going to need more and more from us. So we are in a pretty good spot with our ponds as well.
Have you tested the horse pasture and the trail trail?
We have not tested it.
That one, just because of the amount of ski traffic and the cats that go through there, that takes a beat. A lot of those heads get roughed up. They've been hitting the driving range hard. I mean, that's been going even while they were open. It was going this morning and people were out. So, but those two areas, I checked those right away.
Yep. We've been out to the pastures looking at heads. We've been repairing some. We've got a list of others to do, but we are going to flow test it here soon.
Yeah,
They're gonna test our meters.
Yeah, we did get all the meters tested, so we will be able to separate out each consumption of that system and understand how much water is going where.
That's a great tool.
Biosolids for the month, little revamp on this. Pretty solid month, 32.78 tons. We dewatered 786,000 gallons. So obviously wintertime, summertime operations for the WRF are different. We need to hold a little less weight in the plant right now. So our dewatering is up, but really solid month. Proud of the team. Like I said, they're handling everything that keeps coming at them. So good month. Everything, of course, is being hauled, composting. As we know, we are not pursuing any longer.
I want to add a little bit of layman's terms for explanation on why we have to make that adjustment. Like humans, bugs get a little bit more active when it's warmer, and we don't have to have as many of them versus the winter where their respiration rate cuts in half. So you almost have to have double the amount to treat the same amount. So those are the reasons for the big adjustments. Is they're way more active during the summer. Good to know.
We'll jump down here into the water operations spotlight. So as you guys see, if I can zoom in, but as you guys can see, 2026 is the far right column in each of these. As you see down in Meadow Village, our total production is higher this year than it has been since 2020. We do believe that to be some of the major leaks that we are chasing down right now. So hopefully we will see that slow down and not continue to gain. Mountain Village is on track, slightly higher, but not anything that's grabbing our attention. Yellowstone looks to be down, but the average seems to be pretty close to right in line with use over the last 5 years. Questions, Brad?
No.
Good news on our water is we are compliant with all of our DEQ testing, and all of our results have been within compliance, non-detect for coliform and E. coli. So top quality water being provided. Oh, next up, Garrett, why don't you come over here? Do you guys have any questions about the operating report? Want to dive deep on anything?
Real quick, just last few reports you've had, the use was Spanish Peaks, and there were some anomalies in there with their flows. And of course, we're always looking at gallons per day per SFE for these agreements, like Flatiron. Any anomalies there, or what did it do over the last month, given it's the off season? If there was an anomaly that was based on use, that would be gone because or be minimized. But Can you give us a rough idea? What are those?
Anomalies still exist, so we've been working with the greater team to understand design of these flow meters, requirements of them. We're putting a plan together. We're gonna have to use some fresh water to flush those so that we can calibrate them. And we have a team that is coming up tomorrow to take a look at that.
Great.
And then we're gonna schedule that work, flow test all of those flow meters, clean them, calibrate them, and then we should be able to shore up that number between our master, Spanish Peaks master, but also making sure that the 5 cumulative flow meters all add up to the same total.
So you're getting probably artificially high right now. So if there's, let's say, a blockage, even though they don't have the traffic, it's that blockage still there, which would elevate some of the flow meter.
Correct.
Got it. So
Correct.
good. That's a great one for us to track now.
Yep.
For everything we're doing from our.
Yeah, the upper 3, we just got power to and online, say, in the last 6 months. And then phase 10 will be coming here pretty soon too. And it's going to become a second master because it's going directly to the first loop, so it's not going through the rest of the systems.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah, last thing, Garrett, you want to come on over?
Sure.
So I'm not going to do his introduction for him, but we would like to introduce the team here. Each of the board members, you can sit right here, but this is Garrett Behrman. Garrett Behrman is our new operations supervisor. And I'll let him take over his introduction from there.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here first and foremost. Little about me, moved here with my wife and 2 beautiful young kids from Washington, from a small town, little farming community, Woodland, north of Vancouver, about 20 minutes, if anybody knows where Vancouver is. I always reference Vancouver instead of Portland, but anyways, I have about 14 years of experience within this industry, and have held a couple different positions within the environmental sector. So ranging from sales and municipal services to municipalities, so digester cleanings, lagoon cleanouts, biosolids management, to solid industrial waste management, and then operations, maintenance, and asset management. So looking forward to using my experience here, to benefit the district and ultimately the community of Big Sky. And also fortunate that looks like we're gonna have the opportunity to raise 2 beautiful kids in the great state of Montana. So excited for that. Happy to meet you guys. If anybody wants to talk about solids, I'm here. Love it. You're up with it. So feel free. That was a lot of history of my life. So anyway,
So I want to give a little fun fact. Garrett was actually part of Synagro when we did the first pond cleanup.
Really? That's some experience. Good. Well, welcome to Big Sky in Montana.
and Montana. Thank you.
Great.
Well, did you find housing?
Yeah, things worked out. It worked out great. It was meant to be. So down in the outskirts of Bozeman. So of course I'd like to live up here. It's beautiful, but Bozeman will fit just fine forever. Yeah.
Great. Look forward to seeing you around.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks. Sit back in my corner.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do that. You can sit there, feel like you can tell we're a pretty structured group here. Is that it for the operating report?
That's it.
Great. Anything else questions, board, audience on all that? I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Move it.
Okay, Mike.
Second. Go ahead, Dick.
We have Dick, he's gonna have to have a couple token motions here. Okay. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Carries unanimously. Great. I'll say just one quick thing on the committee reports. Thank you for updating the agenda because that covers one of the committee reports as well for Flatiron. So just make sure we're on the same agenda moving forward the rest of the meeting. We'll cover that in business action items if you want to jump right into it, Johnny. And just a quick update for everyone on that agreement. Dick, we were still going fast and furious, and Chris was able to get it signed while you and I were still going back and forth. But I want to be clear on the changes that, and it was pretty much Dick's review that spelling, it's grammatical, and nothing material. So we probably have to live with the wrong and or but we do have a signature. We can make those changes if we have to redline a few before we sign. But I think that covers it pretty well. And great job getting your team to the table last week so that we could have a more productive meeting this week. So thank you all.
Come on up, man.
All right.
Gotta sit at the table for this one.
So Chris, just so you know, Johnny, when I say he updated, he basically put the first reading on the agenda as well, so we can start that process and get through it. For the rest of the board, we were going back and forth every day on this last week, trying to just dial it in, as I said, but we got right in there on Friday afternoon so people could maybe celebrate over the weekend, which was a surprise for me at 4 o'clock. But I think we're there. If there are any concerns moving forward, be a good time to state them, just so that we don't miss anything or any issues that your team had. And in the end, I think we buttoned it up pretty well, but we're going to get right on to reading the 3 reads. So
I think it's in great shape. John and Susan appreciate all the hard work and getting the drafts turned around, back and forth. So it's been not easy, but it's been productive and positive. And so I very much appreciate the work that the board and the team at the district have done to get it there. Our team's happy with it. We're ready to go.
the one thing for the board, last meeting, we had a clean copy and then we redlined it, did some red lines, and I read those into the record last time. Then we added those, and I will say for this team, we did add from the last meeting easement language for the south border. And that was something that we kind of picked up on along the way. We wanted to reinforce that a little bit, and that was a part of the negotiation last week. But I think it was a good thing for both parties, just to get clarity with access to this south of the Poopshoe Road. So that's really the only change, other than some corrections with Dick, that we made between this meeting and last meeting. Okay.
Thanks, Dick.
When you start picking up the spelling of shoot versus shoot, which he did, that's detailed. Yeah. I mean, I looked at it about 20 times, that agreement. Never thought of CHUTE or shoot up.
I thought shoot was fine with me too until I said that. It's like, you're right.
That correction was about 8 o'clock at night on Thursday night. So,
At a quick glance.
It's the board prior.
yeah. Okay.
They can use the ruler.
I would have loved to.
So thank you all, board and letter for that. All right. Reading.
We need to make a motion to accept.
Oh, I
the
thought,
agreement.
okay, we accept it and then go to. So since we've had those minor updates, I'll entertain a motion for the agreement as it was modified since the last meeting. I'll entertain a motion for that. So we'll be approving. We approved the agreement last time. Now we've made some adjustments. And that's what we're approving.
The agreement or the petition?
So you gotta approve the agreement first.
Yeah.
And then you can do it all in one fell swoop. Susan, correct me if I'm wrong here. You make a motion to accept the agreement and the first read of the ordinance 26.
So
As long as you get the agreement in there, yes.
Yeah.
We need it too.
the agreement includes the annexation application.
Yes.
So you'd be done with it in those.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement as amended.
Dick, you're hesitating before.
No, I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion or clarification? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Peter?
Aye. Sorry.
Okay. Carried unanimously. Now, just for clarity, now we can get into the readings, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just you've approved the agreement. Now it's the first read. Next month will be the second read. There's no changes in between now and then.
And that's why I'd asked, is there anything that's going to come to the table? We wouldn't do a reading today if you're contemplating any modification. So, okay.
And then it will be final in August.
All right. Then. Anyone want to discuss the reading? Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the first reading.
Make a motion to approve first reading.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Jared, second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously, and we can talk about anything else that goes along with Flatiron now, but that'll be it. Now we just hit the next reading in July.
Of the ordinance.
Ordinance.
And the agreements accepted.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
That was the one. The little bump there was I felt like we approved the agreement last time, but we did modify it, so it's good to get that modifications in the record. So, okay. Next up, John.
Budget. 2026, 2027 budget. Same CIP. Do you want the mouse?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll just talk through it. I guess I'll just talk through the changes. I'm sure you guys have all reviewed the budget from the packet. Open to any questions, but I'm just going to cover a couple of things. Since our last meeting, and just kind of to finalize, a couple of major changes have come here or come to the fruition. So we have budgeted in a rate increase, 5% for water, 7% on average for sewer. That was approved 2 years ago. So this is year 2 of that. So those numbers are reflected in our income, which will be up a little bit. Also, bulk water sales was up previously, so we increased that by 9%, just so you guys know. We've heard bulk water station will be around. That was also part of that conversation that we've had here too. But for income, those increases are there. This is a new chart of accounts. So we're switching financial software packages now. We're going from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online to try and modernize and trying to simplify the chart of accounts. So this budget's a little strange because it's not apples to apples. So we changed the chart. So I've moved the previously budgeted numbers in here to the best of my ability. Everything balances, but just so you know that this chart is different. It's going to be a little simplification and hopefully allow us to understand the numbers more clearly. Some of the main expense issues that I should point out are salaries are down. We did our restructuring, plus we had budgeted last year for both Ron and the executive director to be there. So the numbers for salaries and retirement are down, actually. I am breaking out overtime and on-call because I think it's important for us to examine those numbers, which we hadn't done before. So it's not down 10%, but it is down. Health insurance came in. We've been with Blue Cross Blue Shield for 10 years. The numbers came in 18% increase. So we decided to switch to United Healthcare. So 1% increase. So it's a tough decision, but we're making it. Gina assures me that the benefits are almost identical. All of our deductibles are going to move over, so there won't be any pain points for our employees, which is really important to me. Other benefits stayed the same. Let's see. Insurance numbers came in as well. They increased our property values by 18%. So our general liability was up a bit. I don't have the earthquake insurance numbers yet, but they're going to be similar to last year.
So $165,000 variance or something like that, just an outline on but there was no basis from last year. Is that a new thing or?
Yeah, so I can send out the spreadsheet to show you, but the big increase was for our liability coverage. Like I said, I don't have those earthquake numbers, and we are gonna take a solid look too at the amount that we're insured for an earthquake. They're required, so we're a little underinsured right now. We increased our insurance last year, but I can send you that spreadsheet so you can see side by side. We're trying to lower our auto insurance policy by selling some of our fleet. To make up for that increase, but then also we have a really solid safety plan in place, so we're vendors to try and reduce that number. So I'm not at a final number for that, but I have to go with the budget now, but yeah, I can send that spreadsheet so you can see side. Yeah.
I mean, is our earthquake have a huge deductible too, like homeowner one?
It does, yeah.
5% or something.
Yeah, right. I don't know what off the top of my head, but I can tell you what it is. Yeah, we increased our deductible for auto too, just trying to. Actually, I don't have that because we don't have that. It is, yeah.
And who's the health insurance with?
We work with just Blue Shield, but we're going with United
Okay.
Healthcare. Other changes, let's see. Obviously, the CIP projects that would affect our budget are in here. So for instance, we are going to do a well upgrade. We have to upgrade our capacity for our wells here. And 3 in the meadow and 2 on the mountain, is that what the numbers are? Mm-hmm. So we're going to do them one at a time. So those numbers are up here. And then biosolids is the main project that we've approved, and that is not in the budget because it's separate. It's on just the CIP for the capital. Other things on the CIP that we need to cover. Otherwise, the expenses, Clark did a really good job. You know, work expenses are up, so we went through in detail. Including electricity, that's our top of mind for us. There's our utilities to try and save money that way.
It's in business.
Got it. It's to know, see it as an action.
No.
Got it.
Okay, so the planned items are the ones that we'll be approving today. Centrifuge project at 4 million. A multi-year annual cleaning and inspection of the sanitary sewer lines. And any repair projects from that videotaping. You guys approved that last year for 5 years. So that's showing up here again. Critical wharf spare parts is also, it's in the budget, but I'm pulling it out here because we've not shown you guys that cost before. We've never really planned the way that we are now. And so that is going to show up here. We annually have always put $35,000 in for manhole rehabilitation, which we utilized last year for that big Levinsky manhole, which covered that cost. As we find other issues, especially with we're TVing everything, we may find more issues there. And then water, the fire hydrant replacement and the meter replacement are also multi-year projects that we that are ongoing. Well abandonment is also one of the projects that we have that's in the budget, and that well rehab, which I already mentioned. We don't have solid numbers on that well rehab. We're still waiting for Jim Potts to get back to us, but that's our best guess.
Yep. Send me an email this morning. We should have that well assessment report by the end of the week.
So dollars for this, most of it's a lot of it's in operating cost and reserves, which we're not covering in our depreciation. But I will say that the biosolids project's coming from reserves, as well as just under $1 million from financing the wharf phase, plant phase, first phase. There was still dollars remaining that were to go to this project. We already have the equipment here. We've already paid for it. Resort Tax helped us with that. But that's the remainder of the project. So that's how we're financing it. Any other specific questions that anyone might have?
Details that were combined, like there's some of those larger variances in there that where you can take a handful of different line items and move them into one.
That's
so the larger ones would be related to that.
Yes.
Okay. It's like an administration, there was like a service, there was like $200,000 variance year over year.
So, we have like now we've our consultants and some other consultants that we've hired since we've restructured. And we didn't budget for that previously. We didn't consider doing that until last year. So some of those numbers are a little bit higher. And then we're also trying to plan our maintenance and have service agreements that are in place up front. We might have just put that in like Worth treatment plant before and not, we just putting all of them the same. And we're really trying to make sure that we're planning for each and every one of those. So the breakouts are really to kind of show you, you know, where our focus is, which is, you know, maintenance in advance and not. So, help with that.
Yeah, it's okay, just kind of curious, there's some big swings, just kind of trying to figure out where they came from.
Absolutely. This has been really challenging for me, just because of this is to sort of show you the picture, see any anomalies that really need to be pointed out and make sure we're better than but yeah.
So it's one of my strategies too, is to change a bunch of GLs around when I do my annual operating budget, so no one knows.
I also want to do this with 5%.
I wonder why you.
Well, the biggest one on the MSAs is we found that we've had some MSAs out there that we quite frankly weren't aware that we had them. And then we've had some legacy ones like landscaping and spraying and stuff that, you know, I would like, what is this person doing? The bill would just show up. And so we've been ferreting that stuff out so we can account for it and actually identify those costs and expenses. So it was a good exercise doing the change of accounts and trying to simplify things. We actually found some stuff that.
It's great. Yeah. And on the capital improvement projects, that's just for second generation. But what about like the next phase of the plant?
So what you have is you have depreciation, as we call it in the budget world, but that's your repair and replacement. So that's your existing stuff that's funded through rates. Some of your capital, because if you're upsizing, so I'm going to use sweetgrass for a really good example, that will come out of both repair and replacement and capital. All your capital is all your new stuff. So it's Gen 1. So R&R is Gen 2 or existing, so the $40 million in assets that we've got to maintain. And then you have your operating budget. So those are your three legs. This right here is your capital. Some of it is repair and replacement, so like sweetgrass, the well refurbishment or upsizing, some of that stuff because we're expanding it for growth comes out of capital. Most of it comes out of our depreciation. So that's the double hits and stuff. Your capital is a 10-year plan. We're focused on year after year finalizing what we can get done. We're trying to keep it to where if we got a big project this next year with the biosolids, but we're looking at, you know, potentially $3 to $4 million a year just in capital coming up. So you're upsizing your AC pipe that we got to replace, the tanks and booster stations, and a couple PRVs that we've got to do. Well, cleaning up our water rights and our wells and our water production and all that stuff. So you see here, we've got all these cascade booster meters and stuff. And so we can actually definitively say we've produced, or this well has produced this much water. So we can compare it to water sold, get our delta, what's actual beneficial water loss, and actually truly get our water loss number, which we want to see less than 14%. So that gives us a reliable system. And then it also helps with all the future planning. So we got our water master plan now in our model. That's really up and cranking. The televised cleaning of the sewer system and stuff too, that will also go into a model. And that'll give us all of our fives and stuff so we know what to repair in our sewer system, what comes out of R&R. And so we can button up the I&I and keep those numbers down. And the more we keep the I&I down, the more capacity we can actually get at the plant. So
while this is just a snapshot of what we're approving now, but I think you saw like there's another graph, Johnny, I should have taken
It's
that.
like a $20 million year and like a $18 million year, I think it was.
Right, but you can see in 2030 and 2031, that is where we have the Sweetgrass Hills tank and we're phase 2. So
Okay,
that is
okay.
where
But the design of that, wouldn't that have to happen
before, yeah,
ahead of that?
yeah.
Okay.
So some of that number will probably hit before, but we're putting that placeholder in as we get closer, we'll bring those details down.
So this number over here is what Mike is alluding to, this $84 million CIP. So when we say we got a 100 million dollar 10-year CIP, that's what we're looking at. That's the work that's coming at us that we need to plan for.
Just the 5 and 7%, cover everything for the financing of the new plant plus all of this, or do we need to be thinking differently about what rates look like?
Yeah, rates, and then also what we're getting ready to talk about is our wake and sick fees, which is for your new growth and stuff. So this feeds in to those wake and sick fees. And so the better this is, the better those numbers are, and you have an idea of what you need
So
to.
I would say the 5 and 7% does not cover it. We're not making any ground and we're
No.
only using our reserves and not building again. So we took a soft approach, but time to look at it again.
Sure.
But items like phase 2 and the Sweetgrass Hills Canyon are not intended to be funded by rates anyway, they're being funded by the WICSIC.
That's correct.
Sweetgrass will be funded some by depreciation because it's a tank replacement or upsizing. So that's one of the ones that'll get a double.
I mean, same thing with biosolids,
right.
really, but
Right.
But when we built those calculations for the WICSIC, what did we factor in? Do we factor in portions? I
no.
mean, I guess.
No.
we talked about that.
No, it's factored in the whole thing, but the funding mechanism is at the end on where you're actually gonna pull those funds from. And there's a certain percentage Ryan is on.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah,
but
we'll get into it.
We just need to be careful
Right.
about double dipping then
Yep.
too. We're factoring it all into the WICSIC. And we're intending it to come from depreciation. Maybe our WICSIC shouldn't be as high as it is.
You don't have it.
We can get to that in here.
Yeah,
It's up next.
yeah, it's coming up. This is our annual budget approval, and we'll get into the WICSIC.
Okay, any other questions?
That was a really good summary. You both had a good tag team there. That explanation on the R&R and overlapping the cap. And you had it, didn't you have in the original agenda, the last year's retreat?
Yeah, it's actually our segue into WICSIC, so we want to cover.
Got it. I was just gonna say, the biggest thing about this, you give clarity to it. I mean, it's ambitious, but you give clarity on the big picture. And a year ago at our retreat, we talked about proactive versus reactive, and that was a top priority. It's probably the first time I've understood it. I don't even know if I understand it that clear, but this clearly, where you can say, okay, this is where we're going. How does that factor in a decision today on WICSIC, like you're picking up on, and an explanation like on the Sweetgrass tank.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ambiguity on what it's for, or I should say it's subjective, more subjective than I anticipated when you start talking about some of these replacements that are going to service the plant expansion. But great job getting ahead of it and prioritizing the proactive approach that we looked at last year. So
We're doing everything we can to keep our costs, under control. So we're looking at everything, every single line item.
you basically are creating a proactive model in a reactive environment. And the reason I say that is, and it's not a criticism, I'm looking at these numbers since 2022, and I'm looking at the projections on the WICSIC, and when it doubles, that tells me that you can't do anything about the past, but that tells me that we weren't having such disciplined planning for the future. Sometimes it's just ripping the Band-Aid off, and you're ripping the Band-Aid off today, which is good. But you are basically paying for maybe a little lighter planning in the past.
Yeah.
So it's good data, but how do we figure out like what does it take for us to, what do rates have to go to break even? I'd love to see that in the future. So help
That's-
us paint the picture.
That's coming this next year, so when we approved the rates 2 years ago, we were gonna do a whole nother one. Now we've got all this information, so we'll have a better idea. We'll probably, the plan 2 years ago was a 5-year approach. But we've got a timeline. And so we also got a financial obligation due to our financing that we've got to be at a certain place in our
We
rates. So
also have to have some idea, are we bringing the canyon on, is Firelight coming on? All of those numbers affect the rates as well. So we're gonna have more clarity here. We're working diligently to make sure that we know what that is, so that can factor into it too, so.
Those are two different things, though. I think that there's like, what does it take to operate today
mhm.
with those Firelight Canyon, they're not annexed, they're not part of it right now.
Right.
So it's kind of like, my question is more like with what we operate today, what do rates need to be at?
Yeah.
Unused or lots that have not been developed, undeveloped, what does it take to operate today?
Yeah,
Then there's another decision that's based off of Firelight and the
yeah,
Canyon, and there's that relates to the phase two, all kinds of stuff, but
yeah,
I think it'd be valuable to know what our existing ratepayers should expect.
Yeah.
To make this work as we know it today.
okay,
And that's what we're gonna be working on this next year, because we all know that depreciation currently is not funded. And so we've got to have that number, and then you've got through this exercise adopted today's dollars and tomorrow's dollars, so our escalators that also go in there for that. And then of course the ever increasing operating costs. And then, as I like to call it, we got a house payment coming due in 2029. So that's our debt service that was originally approved to be in the rates as well. So doing this now, we got a 3 to 4 year window to get ourselves in a strategic financial place. And so this next year we'll be coming up with what that needs to be, and then presenting those plans, and hopefully this time next year we'll have that picture and know what it's going to be. So
Fair enough. My last question before I'll be quiet, I promise, but
Take your time, you don't have to leave early today, we can sit till lunch with you. Yeah, no one's in a rush, right? No, keep going.
on the attorney piece, like, do we think it's gonna be 200,000 this year? Do we have any idea what that's gonna be?
I expected it to be a lot less. We know that he filed
You didn't just say that out loud, did you?
I'm just kind of curious, we've missed it for the last 5 years, I'm aware, for lots of reasons, but the just wondering where we are.
I think it will be on budget this year.
Mike, yeah, probably, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna touch on that anyway, so I'm glad you brought it up, but because I hear you guys talking about, we're managing everything we can control. Unfortunately, that's one we can't or haven't been able to. I mean, we're at almost another $1 million spent this year. And, we would be funding at least a portion of our depreciation if we weren't having to devote so much of our operating budget. I mean, $1 million out of a $6 million operating budget is a huge amount, and that's all unplanned, because how do you plan for who's going to sue you?
Yeah.
And what it's going to take to defend it. And we've, as everyone knows, we've defended it successfully every time, but we still have to spend the money to do that.
Your summary, I think it's the most important part of this presentation. And again, this is the best presentation I can remember on it. And the reason being is we're at a crossroads. We need a baseline of where we are with our existing ratepayers, our existing system. We need to know exactly what that's projected, let's say over a 5-year period. So it encompasses that 4-year threshold before we negotiate with other entities, whether it's Firelight, nothing personal, Jeff, Firelight, Canyon, or anything else that we do, because we can't be off on that. We can't say, wow, the ratepayers would have paid X and now it's going to be X plus 50%. We need to know it today so we can negotiate more effectively in the future. And that ties right into WICSIC that we're talking about going forward for other entities. So we've got to, this is great information, and it's, again, playing catch up. When you're tenfold of what you were in 2022 in 2026, that just tells you that we got to play catch up. That's what this year is, unless I'm missing something there. You're playing catch up for things, and that's a real compliment to the team for what they've done since our retreat a year ago. That's all. But that's key. We got to know what the budget is without the other opportunities that we're going to be facing in the future.
It's interesting though, because so many past decisions were made with those decisions
Yeah.
in mind.
Good point.
That if they hadn't been made, the number you're asking for would be a lot lower. The decisions with the WRF, I mean, not only our payment, but we have to pay, I guess it's in that payment, we have to pay the excess because resort tax didn't fund 60%. They ended up funding 40%. It's funded the same number when the cost went higher. That's
a great point.
Some of the decisions to do that were phase 2 decisions.
So, we've talked about the trains. We always carried it at 6 million. Then one day I got a call after a meeting and said, "Hey, just a heads up, it was 7." But 6 had been the number for forever. $7 million to be carrying as we look at these items. And you just have to remember it's 3,500 ratepayers.
Yeah.
You brought up the vacant lots. It's not just vacant lots, it's dormant inventory. I mean, to have that obligation on the book, that's substantial. For all the things you're bringing clarity to all the things you're doing right now to support that obligation.
Yeah.
This is tough stuff.
Well, like you said, it's ripping the Band-Aid off. I have to state the facts. I have to state where we need to guide the ship. So it is rough. It is very hard information and a big pill to swallow, but we're doing double the work. We're coming out of the reactive, going into proactive. And so we're catching up in pre-planning. I could say from 2024 to where we're sitting at now, I think we're painting a very optimistic picture going forward, but we have that delta of growth, and we're trying to calculate off of past information. But this has been, a high increase in growth that we're trying to keep up with, and we're not the only community struggling with that. It's virtually unheard of to build a brand new plant and then turn around within 5 years and have to look at expanding it.
I think the information is an opportunity. I don't look at this as all negative. It's just information is what we need. It's the uncertainty that kills this board. It's the reactive that kills this board. If you can start planning for some of these big numbers right now, you'll have choices in how to get there. And it's not what we do a lot of times, it's how we do it. And we're going to get into that with the WICSIC. Yes. So
on the financing of the plant, we going to be financed like 3% for the plant we have today. Does that balloon in 2029? Is that rate fixed for the entire life of the loan?
No, it's not fixed. I think if Terry was here, you would have to answer off the top of his head, but I think in 2030, I think it is not, they do actually look at it every year, but they have not changed that rate at all. But I think it does, it will.
Amy,
Yeah.
you were fixed for 20 years, so it's 2039, I think it resets.
Right.
We do re-amortize every year though, based on the prepayment of principal that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good news actually. Better than 7%.
Yeah, what does happen in 2029 is the obligation with jerad is done, and we assume that $2 million.
I've said a different way, the resort tax money runs out.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was sitting there and going, we're done, right? Training wheels come off.
And I know from talking to Terry in the past, the goal was to prepay a certain portion so that we would not run the risk of getting to 2039 and having a rate increase, an interest rate increase. So the goal in theory would be to pay it off by then. It's just a matter of do we have the funds to do it. Sure. Obviously we got to make the minimum payment, but
Yeah, and maybe to that point, Al and Amy, we could just figure out when you'd like to go through that. But we did in the rate model have a fairly, I think, detailed schedule on how much of that resort tax to apply when, just so that we could balance the rate increases needed as the user base kept growing without, because otherwise there was kind of a trough as the users kind of kept coming on. And so we were just trying to balance that through the years.
Anything else? So I'll entertain a motion on 2026, 27 annual budget and CIP.
I'll move it.
Okay, Mike,
I'll second.
Al with the second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. All in favor? All right, next item I'll jump on, Johnny, just because it's approve executive director interim review. Update, Jared and I met with Johnny a week ago. Had a long, comfortable open meeting to evaluate the data that or response that we that Laura compiled. I don't know, Johnny, you jump in. I think it was very productive. Jared,
Yeah.
we had a really good open format. We tried to identify patterns in there and clarify. You know, you get into things like community involvement, community this and that, and you just got to, you know, to work on things, you got to identify the detail associated with it. And it was very positive, and I think it was productive. At the same time, it brought clarity to Laura's work in there.
Yeah.
So everyone has that. Everyone here, the board has that. So if there's any comments or questions, now would be the time to just discuss them and give Johnny and Jared an opportunity to pipe in on that as well. So maybe I'll start with you, Jared. I think we scheduled about an hour and a half, and we ended up being 2 hours, and you finally had to go to your day job.
Yeah.
So yeah, we spent quite a bit of time on it.
No, but we had a good meeting and discussed, like you said, community involvement, and I learned that, which maybe a bunch of you already do, but Johnny actually takes part in a lot of community events already. Trying to, I guess, share what we're doing and let people get to know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like it. Brian, enlightened said, the professional engagement. There's just some social things I'm not willing to partake in because, one, I don't have kids in the system, or I'm not going to go to sports venues and stuff. The only thing that I would add is Amy and I, through our strategy plan, we've got a community outreach banner that we share or will share if it's not already posted somewhere. And if there is something that comes up that you don't see on there that you think we should attend, it's not just me, it's Amy and Clark and stuff. So we kind of share the community engagements and stuff. Let us know. And we'll make plans to go there. One of the biggest things that we added to it that Amy's working on is a farmer's market. I think about River or Jess or somebody has a table there that we're gonna participate in at least once a month.
We're gonna try and piggyback on it, but
Yeah.
I think I'll share that communication calendar with you guys all, so you can see what we're covering. You kind of see the topics in the newsletter, but I think it's going well. I think actually the communication's been pretty good.
It's been great.
Feedback. Yeah.
No, a lot of positive feedback with your community outreach, and to clarify that, I just use that as an example because it was really a good thing to understand when some of the comments were community. Well, there's professional community and then there's personal community, and it was a great discussion. It's like, look, I don't have kids down at the school, so Al's my conduit for that to find out what's going on in basketball or whatever it is. And but professionally, I think Johnny shared a lot of things that he's involved with that I wasn't aware of. So it was good to differentiate between the two. It's just not going to be something that they're equal going forward. But it was a good topic because it kept popping up, and I think everybody's on the right track. He's got a lot of support from Amy in the community, given her place, and Lindsay over here. So it's a good balanced team. So anyway, it was a good process. Just wanted to get clarity out of some of the comments, and I think it's helpful for Johnny as well.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments on the process even? Thought Laura did a nice job with the communication and the survey and things like that. We got to get used to all this professional support. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve Johnny's annual review.
I'll make that
Yeah.
motion.
Okay. Second,
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor?
I,
Peter, okay. Motion carries unanimously. Great, thanks. Good process.
Yeah.
New business, none for the meeting. Going right to town on this one, a big one too. Old business. 2025-28 strategy plan update.
Yeah, so last meeting you had asked that would be nice since it had been a year ago. And so Amy had put this together. This is what we shared with staff. Kind of some of the updates through the performance evaluation and just really give you an update on where we are with our 3 strategic priorities. The first one being the financial model, which, we've spent quite a bit of time in, for us, we're in the forest and trying to communicate those future needs. We are still currently bringing online the financial platform.
Correct. July 1st, we'll switch over to our new back-end financials, and then we're still working through the billing side. So that I'm not sure what the.
So with those changes, what you'll see next month when we update bylaws and stuff is the financial protocol. And so I talked with Susan about this and how we do this, because we're going to be approving stuff in an online format, so we won't really be signing checks. And so the authority approval levels can change. So when you guys approve the budget, that approves us to basically pay the bills. And so to speed things up and kind of bring in my 90-10 rule, there's an approval process and a protocol that we'll be asking the board to put into place on how we structure the signatures and approve things in the process with that, and then limits on where I become first signature and the treasurer or somebody from the board becomes the second. So like in that packet, you had the electrical bill. That was the highest one. That was the first time I told Lindsay, that was the highest bill out of the whole stack, was the electric bill at $40-some thousand. So it just puts in those financial protocols that come in with the new system, so we can conduct business faster, so to speak. And then it puts in those levels that, we already have the protocol that anything that's not in the budget we bring to the board for approval and how to process them. So it cleans that up with that financial model. The strategic planning, like you're already seeing with the CIP, we do have a full 10-year CIP now, and that will be gone through every year. And we'll keep fine tuning it and try to keep forward planning, which leads me into the wake sick fees and stuff. They will be reviewed every year because of the update to the CIP. And then in communication and education, so our outreach with the community, like I said, Amy has put together the event calendar in which we'll participate. We take every opportunity we possibly can to go out there and tell our story. I never imagined I would be talking to senators and House representatives and political parties in my career, but here we are. And then, the fine work that we've done with the task force, and you have to forgive me because you changed the name. Our water source protection. Yeah, which that meeting is in this board packet under our outsource, but it was a really good meeting.
What's that called?
Big Sky High Waters Partnership.
Good.
It's supposed to be easier to remember.
it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, okay.
But it just really ties in, and through the communication with Kristen and her team and some of the other NGOs, just really finding out what big picture we're looking at and how it ties in, or how they tie in with that bigger picture. So it's really coming in nice and having the ability to be able to focus on that. I'm actually finding that I'm taking some pleasure in actually having those communications and going out there and talking to them. So even at the chamber dinner, Pat was there, and we're sitting right there at the same table with us and got some good conversations with them as well. So I think, overall, these are our three strategic pillars, and investing in our team and diversifying them. Clark and Garrett have spent a lot of time with the staff going through the performance evaluations, really trying to get that down so we know how to guide and grow our team and get them to where they need to be experts in the field to go out there and do their jobs. And to push this vision forward. So I think it's all coming together over this last year. I think we've accomplished quite a bit. I put it at about 45% complete. So we're right on target on our 3-year plan to have this concluded and implemented.
3 to 5.
Couple more years, we'll talk about it again.
Well, it's fluid and dynamic. It's never ending. So
It is.
So open it up if you guys have any input or questions.
I think that the community engagement portion of what we're doing, we've made some great progress. But I also feel like it's a never ending process. And so that's why I'm glad we continue to talk about it, because I don't think it's something we can ever feel like, okay, we're there, now we can relax. We've communicated, everybody now knows, because everybody still does know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, as I was listening to you, Brian, it is those professional relationships and or events, but it's those side conversations at a sporting event or at a play or
100%.
at River House or wherever else that are just as valuable, where you get the opportunity to educate and also be educated, because then you're hearing back what community members are thinking and hearing. And sometimes they don't have all the facts on their side, but sometimes it's a perspective that maybe we don't consider because we're so focused on the details here. So I think as an organization, any way we find new ways, whether it's the farmers market or anywhere else, are all smart for us to.
And I'm just gonna throw out too, that on a day-to-day basis, Lindsay communicates with our public in such a professional and exceptional way. Like, that is education all day, every day that she's doing. So.
Yeah.
I think.
And we all become her support team in the customer service, trying to get her the information she needs for it.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna make my infamous plug here. We got September, our first annual meeting, which I think, is gonna be really good too. I'm looking forward.
Where is that? Is Wilson?
It's at the Wilson. Doors open at 5, meeting starts at 6.
You're gonna be in the audience asking questions instead of answering.
Steak fry afterwards?
Yeah.
yeah, and a retreat like that's only as good as the follow-up. And this is a great checkpoint. In a year. And you did a really nice job of outlining, reminding us what we agreed to that day. And I think community, not just ratepayer perception, but community perception has improved substantially. I think both of you really have done. I mean, you've got this team, and that's key. You're covered by the personal side of the community. You're out about it's what Al said. It's going to be a solid foundation moving forward. Looks like you're on the right path with some of those things too.
Nice changes.
Thank you.
Like that.
I look forward to your note every month. The other day, I literally changed my watering based on, but you went into detail saying you do it for the following reason. You don't water at 10 at night because you get a fungus or something like that. You're talking about.
Absolutely.
I always heard it. I'm like, okay, I better do this. I used to have Jim Musket drive around. It was a race to my meter to turn it off right at 8. And I'd say, oh, Jim's coming. Turn it off. I'd run that puppy along till he grew up.
Science-based.
Now we don't have to drive by to catch you.
Yeah, right. Rand always wanted to get space in the best community you can.
I know if we do 2 loads of laundry a day, I'm gonna hear from you.
Like I said, hearing from Barbara Raleigh the other day, what a great program that is.
So down.
It does, seriously. Let's have to go. Okay, go. Oh,
Okay, so
we're using technical.
where are we at, Johnny?
We can see. Do we have Ryan on?
Okay.
So we did present this last month. Ryan gave a nice presentation. Something, we've been working on over the last year, really defining what we're looking at. But Amy can give you the meat and potatoes.
I think the meat and potatoes were last week. This is actually the rate sheet for you guys to take a look at. A couple of things, other than the WIC and SIG, are just some of our fees have been the same for a very long time. And I have increased some of the, or I'm asking you to increase some of the rates for some of our inspections and some of the other items that just aren't covered. We're not covering our labor rates for those items. So I sent those up to all of you guys. You can see them here. One other major change other than the WIC is the bulk water station. You guys see that we have that in our CIP and we're just
Very professional out there. It's right there at the crosswalk too, you know, you can walk across and.
Hoping to wrap that and make it look really nice.
Yeah. Very professional.
Anyway, I think that will allow year-round bulk service, but the way that it's built is a little different. So I would like to propose a bulk water price change to $17 as opposed to $15.75 per 1,000 gallons. I think that's overdue anyway. I think our numbers were really low, but we had some fees that are going to come with that station. So that's in there. So inspection fees, delinquent account stays the same. So that leaves us with WIC and SIG. You guys saw that our CIP is significantly larger, and Brian went through the process of calculating these for us, and he kind of went over that last month. If you guys need a refresher, I'm going to have him actually go through that. But they are more than doubling. So our previous SIG charge for in-district person who had been paying taxes was $47.69, and the increase with this new CIP, with the new CIP numbers, is $11,222. Out of district, those folks who have not been paying on the tax rolls, it goes from $50.48 to $11,688. And then water, jumps from $19.93 to $45.74, which is a 130% increase, and $25.32 to $48.48 for those who have not been paying taxes and not within, you know, had a vacant lot on their, or they did have a vacant lot, they had dormant inventory. They were not paying towards tax rolls, or annexed properties would also be included.
There you go. Excellent.
Significant changes, but I think we've not looked at these numbers enough historically, not have our CIP planned out in the way that we do now. So
Someone's going to pick up that tab from the earlier presentation. You know, I get it.
yeah.
Would a fair way of describing WIC without being technical about it is to say that's our effort to make sure that our existing customers aren't unfairly taking the burden of the costs we have to prepare for future customers.
I'm gonna steal a little thunder from Mace because he's said it a lot in the canyon, is new growth has got to pay for new development, has got to pay for new development. So we cannot put that on the existing customer base. We cannot put that on the existing rates.
But the challenge is that we have is we can't wait till new development needs it. We have to have it prepared in advance. So we kind of sit there, bear the cost, and we're sort of getting somewhat compensated for partially what we've done and partially for what we need to do to continue with new growth.
That's really well said. It's interesting. New customers. I would delineate or differentiate and say everyone that has everyone's a ratepayer. So rather than say new customers, we wouldn't be bringing a new ratepayer in. They're existing ratepayers paying for the future. That's a little bit different than saying new customers should pay for new infrastructure.
New development pays for
It's just, hey, don't get me wrong. It is what it is. We got to play catch up.
growth has to pay for growth.
But in some cases, it is new customers because if they're
Right.
let's say the canyon,
Yeah.
those would be new customers.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm thinking more about when we're basically doubling the WIC site, and that's I get it. We have to pay for all this. It's just it's not what we're doing; it's how we're doing it. And in the sense that you have people that have had that lot for 30 years and now they're going to get doubled in a short period of time. Not debating it. We've got to balance this, but we just actually need to understand what we're doing and that you may have had someone that was 30 years ago has held that lot and is about to build versus someone who would be coming in the canyon and be subject to the same rate structure. We just have to be.
Well, that is also, you know, a question and debate. That vacant lot charge is paying for their spot at the table. And then when they actually go to build, then they're paying for what we've got in place today, which they have not used.
Yeah.
Versus people that have been hooked up to the system and have been using it.
I'm just trying to differentiate between the ratepayer and a new person coming online. That's all. I'm just trying to make sure that we're clear in our borders. And by the way, you know, we have to do this. It's a question in my mind. I'll put it on the table now. It's the timing of it. To adopt this today would concern me in this sense that you're starting the building season right now. You're right in the middle of it. And a person yesterday came in at 50% as a person tomorrow. So my only question is not what we're doing, it's how we're doing it. And there's a way to transition this in to reflect the timing of the building season, number one, notice number two, and really beat the drum and say, hey, this is where we are today. This is where we're going to be, and get that same communication out to let people know. So if they planned on hooking up, I know, and we talked about the other day that, look, we always wait till the last minute to hook up just because it's a pretty stiff check to write or it's just not necessary. If I'm building a house over in South Fork, and this isn't just about any developers, it's about all tiers. But if you tell me that, I'd come in and pull my permit sooner rather than later. You're giving people choices within this. And the last thing I'd say is this is planning, you know, we're tenfold over 4 years ago. This is planning out in the future. So I think a nominal period for transitioning into this is not as, doesn't have the impact that it would have if you just put it in overnight. That's all.
Once the application's approved, how long is it good for?
1 year. And then we call and extend it, or, you know, and ask them if they want to extend it. It's good for me.
Which isn't long enough to build a house in Spanish Peaks, and we know that. Those houses builds are about 2 to 3 years. So we track that too, because I think that needs to change a little bit. But for instance, water meter rates though in 2 years can go up significantly. So they may purchase their water meter and then not come for 3 years, and that cost can go up significantly, which we would have to absorb. So you know, 1 year, there's just like lots of ways to look at that, but we are like, you know, depends on the development really.
Right. Yeah, this isn't so, I just think it's a planning tool, and I'm not saying delay it a year. I don't know, whatever it is, I think we need to consider. These are just considerations on the timing of, on Monday, it was X and it's 2X on Wednesday. Just something to consider.
Yeah.
When it's a 10-year CIP, it kind of reflects on light planning over the last 10 years, but it is what it is.
I have two thoughts on this as we've gone through it. One is I'm surprised that the not paying people isn't higher. And that's really not much.
Ryan, can you talk about what goes into that calculation? The difference between the two?
Between which two again? Sorry.
Between the individuals that have not paid the sewer mill levy and the ones who have.
Yeah, so
No, Dick's talking about vacant lots.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, you are? Okay.
what we do with those is we look at the specific assets that are funded by that the mill levy, the debt service that was the mill levy paid for, right? And so we take that off the value of those assets that were inflated, basically. And so the difference is going to shrink every year because those assets themselves are getting older every year too. And so Oh, off the top of my head, there was, I didn't know, maybe I shouldn't say it I can pull it up real quick, but as the assets that were funded by that are also getting retired and no longer on the books, that's the other big thing with like the old plant. And so that's why that's getting smaller over the years.
But I can appreciate your question because intuitively you'd say, well, those people pay taxes for a lot of years, those dollars they paid is a lot more than that gap.
So it seems like a good deal. The other thought, and I like the way you summarized it, that you're paying for the future, which we're in a unique position here with a high growth, fast growth area. And the other is that our cost and investment is so much higher because it's a resort area and we have these surges that we are preparing for and not using for half the year, at least half the year. So, you know, our numbers would be out of whack for a normal community with slow growth and constant demand. So it's a challenging.
Dick, you gotta build that church for Easter Sunday here. You gotta build it for that million gallon flow day. That's the hard to store it till Memorial Day.
Well, and it's a good point that you bring up. We have 3,500 residents, but we have a daily visitor average of over 7,000 and can have a peak at 13 to 15,000 in one day. That's what we have to plan for is a population that is as big as Belgrade, but we don't see it on a full-time basis. But
My wife was pointing out the other day, looking at some numbers. Has anybody seen the numbers for Yellowstone in May? Visitors, 570,000 people in May.
Johnny, I think you're conservative with your number. I know you are.
yeah, well, I know this I'm thinking
There was a concern that
Point will do
numbers were gonna go down.
10,000 skiers in a day.
Admission, because I think if you're
2,000
not from
employees.
this country,
And then
you have to go low.
I'd have to, yeah, December was high. But I mean, you know, conservatively, you know, to see an average daily visitor count of 7,500 people, you know, that's double of what our residency is, full-time residency is. But yeah, I go off of a couple of years ago. We had one event, a concert up here, and I think we had Dave Matthews this last summer, but you know, we were 13,000 people in one evening up here.
On the new permits, see it like you get 4 in the process right now. So just to get to Brian's point, like when should this go into effect? I feel like most people that are planning to build are probably planning, have already, you know, determined in the next 4 months if they're going to break ground or not. Can we delay the start of this to say September 1st and then just?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we actually have our event, maybe the communication needs to go out and talk it over and then, you know, have question and answer there as well. I mean, permits are pretty slow. They have been for the last few summers. I don't feel like the growth is that exponential, but yeah, I'm open, you guys. I want to communicate better. I know.
Oh, no, it's
really well to the community and let them prepare. I don't want to spring anything on anyone.
I don't think anybody's done anything out of place. We now know what the number is. We need to be responsive to that. I think Brian's just trying to get to, I kind of agree with it. If you were building a home somewhere and you're on a little tighter budget in our community down in the lower part of the state, our community.
Yeah.
That if you're 2 to 2.5 or 3 SFPs, that's a considerable difference and what the cost would be.
Yeah.
So what if there was like a little bit of a grace period and then a strategy to kind of share this is where we're going and have some data to support.
Yeah.
That, you know, Ryan's pulled all this together, whoever's on this particular committee, you know, the data's there and it's they're right in front of them.
I would make a recommendation because we go through the CIP, we go through the budget process, and this is actually separate from the budget. Is we can institute and because we review this annually, you know, that we could definitely move it not from July but to September. So this is good through the whole entire building season. You approve it, and so you have time to prepare for the whole next building season, so I do agree that September is more in alignment as we come out of this building season and we make the change, and then people can prepare for the next
So
building
I
season.
am gonna push for the other changes though on this rate sheet. Obviously, the ones
Sure.
that the 5% and the 7% are baked in, but I'm gonna fire that. We're gonna fire that ball motor station up now. I need to cover our costs. Like,
Yeah, we can pull the big sick out of this rate sheet and run it independent of this.
So I'm in with that. Sounds good to me.
That's good discussion.
Would we be creating a scenario where I just want to make sure we don't create a scenario where someone can circumvent the system. Oh, now I know this is about to double. I'm gonna get in. And then I'm gonna delay it, and then I'm gonna delay it, and then I'm gonna delay it. Or the alternative is we create a system where someone can prevent.
I think they have 30 days to pay after reissue now, like they don't get a choice to. They can't say fine now and then we're gonna pay you a year from now.
Okay.
They have 30 days to pay, so I don't
Okay,
know.
then that makes sense. I thought I heard a year.
It's a year that it's good for.
Okay.
So it is only
So if
one.
we institute this on September 1st and they turn in a permit at the end of August, they have 30 days to pay that permit at that
Got it.
price.
It'll circumvent that system, but you think about it, if you only have a 1 year window. And maybe you do put in there that you have a 1 year window, and if you miss the 1 year window, we'll extend the 1 year, but you're gonna pay the new rate.
Absolutely.
And
That's kind of how it's always.
That would circumvent it or
Yeah.
avoid that. I think I think these are great solutions moving forward. It's just good to give people, and it's all about utilizing your tools for community outreach or ratepayer outreach. And say, hey, here's why we're doing it, by the way. This presentation today gives them the future. And then you have those bullet points.
And we can still have these conversations, so, because we're gonna have these, and then we get a little bit of a grace period to advertise, hey, be prepared, this is, taking effect September 1st, or, whatever that date is, that any permits submitted after that date, pay.
It's interesting, especially on the mountain, it was always the balance of, the 1 year was a BSOA thing as well. And there was always a lot of pressure in getting extension. So you did your best and tried to get these hookups. And a lot of times, just because there were times you'd come in and not criticizing, but Marlene would be, well, now you're going to pay as if you're in the system taking showers and things. And there was a little ambiguity there. But so you would delay as absolutely long as possible. But then you'd have spending the extra money to excavate back up and tie in your main and do the inspection. It was just this juggling act. So the good news is you just say, these are the terms, these are the conditions. And then you can evaluate where you want to be. But I don't think you have to worry about people prepaying too many of these because you have the 1 year. So it hits both ends of the spectrum. It's kind of polarized. If it's a guy in South Fork, well, they don't pay. Well, this guy in the Meadow Village, I didn't realize how many starts. There were 3 that are mounds of dirt, and there's 2 others you could see staked. That's pretty good activity in the meadow. But same thing with Cascade, but that's a pretty big impact on those. And a lot of those are subject to the Boyne surcharge, as if you're up in Cascade. So you just have to think through that part. But then you'd have a developer who's about to, I don't know if you've done audits on any of the development going on, but if they have 30 SFEs, then it's that polar opposite. Man, this is a pretty big impact. So you cover both bases, both ends of the spectrum. Okay, do we want to make a motion then on that?
You can, if you want.
I think it would be great to memorialize that approach, that it will be, but a comfort level for you two or the team to say, we're going to put this into effect on this date.
I would recommend that your motion is to approve these rates and for them to be implemented September 1st and September 1st there annually.
You good with that out? You're concerned.
I'm hearing Amy say she wants the other
Yeah,
rates now,
just-
so.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
comfortable with-
That would be included.
So the WICSIC will be September 1st, and the rest of these, you've already approved the majority of them, but by increase in like our inspection fees and then that bulk water rate, I would like to approve it for
Yeah.
July 1st.
Yes. And I don't know that we need to necessarily defer to September 1 every year. I think it's just this large increase that we're dealing with this year that's a challenge.
Yeah, it should be minute following this because we do have the 10-year CIP and we know what that's gonna look like, so we should.
Ryan, did you have input?
Yeah, I sent you a quick email, Amy, with a consideration. Listening to your discussion, I guess I would think, and if Susan's still on, she can maybe speak to the legal piece of it, but I would adopt the WIC and SIC rates as presented, but you're deferring the increase for any permit, for the applications that are submitted before September 1, you're deferring that increase. And then if they complete it within that 1-year period, that deferral is forgiven, basically, something like that, right? So that way, because you had talked about if they don't complete it within that 1-year period, then you wanted them to pay the higher WIC and SIC rate. And so you could still extend it as you guys normally do, but they would still then owe the balance.
Make one comment on that, to get back to your thought, Al. There's a big difference between completion and hooking up. I mean, we used to hook up right away. Anyway, if you could, like, you're doing your excavation, you got everything in there. So the whole idea of not hooking up for the year or two is to save not having the monthly. So whatever the case, they can hook up right away. I mean, once they get that foundation in. So it's not as if they have to complete the project, which takes 2 years. They just have to tie it to the hookup. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's a good way to really clarify, Ryan, is to say that, because it's not as if they're tied to, and you want to make sure they're clear with that, tied to completion of the project, but tied to the hookup. That's all.
I understand what you're saying, Ryan, but I personally would feel more comfortable just deferring the decision to September 1, not approving it. I mean, we mentioned earlier, it sounds like for some of the items that are in here, all of the costs are in the WIC SIC, but we anticipate some of it coming from depreciation. So I'm starting to wonder if our number's too high and that if we need to take another.
That's on the water side, not the sewer side.
Sewer side.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to shift towards that. I like the simplicity of you start the community outreach right now and saying it's going up on this date, and then you just need your 1 year. That's it. So there's no ambiguity after that. So there's no if you don't finish, you get this. Rates are going up. You pay it on September 1. Get it. Get it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it because
we can share that with you. So that is on that sweetgrass that's on the water side, and that's not reflected in the water investment terms. So that is not accounted for in there. So that's why that number is a lot lower. The sewer is all growth. So
well, you'll have months to even learn that. But here's the other part to it that's attractive to this. Is you said they have a 30-day grace period. So you give them that 30 days. I mean, they basically race in and they get their permit in, by September 1st. They still have 30 days to walk in and say, I need to pull my application. Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay. So they really have till October 1st.
We don't make Lindsay do all that work to say this.
If you'd like a little extra time, make Lindsay do all that. Of course not. But they have the extra 30 days. And what's nice in that 30-day window from September to October 1st, you're going to have your special night that you never forget about telling them over to Wilson. And you can say, hey, guys, this is what we've done. This is why we did it. And they'll get a good explanation. But they do get, I think the start just saying, we're going to adopt this on September 1 is the way to go.
So I can tell you Ryan's numbers were 46 million. They were 84. So there is a differentiation in how he calculates this in our entire CIP. So we have those. I'll share that with you and then we can really dig into that conversation.
Yeah, he has the projects broke out and what they're eligible for. And so he has listed in there CIP, depreciation and stuff like that.
Yes. And I'll take the blame for some of this is with everything else. I mean, I know I get the big check from Water and Sewer District every payroll for all the time. But been so focused on the canyon stuff we've been working on that I haven't devoted as much time probably to this, so I'll admit that and take some blame for it, but
Well, and that's where I say we're in the forest because, we talk about it so much in so many different areas. And so it's just, we take for granted, well, we communicate it about it all the time because we're always talking about it one way.
right. But as we all know, there's a lot of potential sources that we're talking about that will help pay for, say, phase 2 of the plant, and I just think having that extra time to really go through it and make sure all those considerations are included.
I like it regardless. I mean, I just love that we say September.
1, but does it make any more sense to do it at the next quarter or September 1, the date? I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. You guys tell me, but I think if we just defer it a little bit so we have the time to better understand this, I'd feel more comfortable voting on it.
Can we legally do that? I think Ryan brought that up. I mean, Susan, do we just do part of this and not all of it?
Yeah, you can approve the rate sheets in your motion with the exception that you want to delay the consent.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to why I actually pulled it out because we're going to look at it every year. So it's just good feedback on how we handle that because we are going to look at it every year versus the rates. The other rates may not adjust as much as the WIC said. So
Why don't we start off adopting what we all agree on today? Your bulk. Let's get that one done. So how about a motion on just bulk to start?
I'll make a motion to approve everything but the WIC sick.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried unanimously. Great. So we got that. You're all set. Now, WIC, I think we can do nothing on it for this.
yeah, you can do nothing on it. We can go back to the
Start the community outreach. This is, and you know what that gives you? It's great that we just kind of push it out. Let's get that communication out there right away. You have your quarterly billing going out. We have a July meeting, and then have it on the agenda for comment. You know what happens when you put it on for comment? They feel like they're a part of the decision. They gave their opinion. And third, we can explain it to anyone.
Yeah.
After that, you say, look, we had 2 meetings where we explained this. You had your window. That's it. And then you'll have a 3rd meeting, by the time you have the Wilson. So I think it's great. We have to do it. Obviously, we're writing a lot of checks and we got to cover them. And that's it. Great.
All right. Thank you.
We like simple. All right.
One more layer in the WIC sick thing. Just maybe part of what you're talking about, Al, which is the annexation or the Canyon District plus Firelight phase 2 looks like. One of the things that we're trying to figure out is what does this look like with or without the canyon? Does that change the WIC sick? I don't know, but maybe that's another layer we add to it, and part of the due diligence report we determine what the final number is, and we all have visibility into the impacts of either of those.
It all starts with that baseline, like you said. We got to figure out where we are today before we negotiate anything that will impact ratepayers. Yeah, that's where we are. If nothing else happens.
Yep, I think so.
Great. Okay. All right. Great discussion. Still only almost at 10. 2025 water and sewer investment charge. Okay, project update. Good to see you, Scott.
Thanks for having me. Dive right in. Zach Freeland provided the update on plant work, including salt handling improvements that he's working through with John and Clark, and 60% design. Sols to get out to bid in the summer. I know you all have 4 million in there. I want to just that was our estimate. The pricing on, for example, the conveyors are $155,000. We got $100,000 in there based on judgment about it. We're up to city council right now, so just there's some pricing unpleasantness going on right now. I think because of oil shocks, tariffs, data centers. Zach's gonna look at other potential suppliers besides Serpentix to see if we can get that down. Just we do our best to try to get that $4 million add with 20% contingency. So the price on bid today, that will be our best to do that. Surprise Clark didn't bring up his victory on local sand pump rebuilds. Watching your team work through that with Memcor DuPont, who's the supplier of the membrane equipment package. We had 3 permeate pumps rusting out. They recirculate chlorine through the membranes, back through the membranes to put in place, and had rusted out. Clark identified it and had Chad with Pete come in and do a deep dive on it, and diagnostics, and really it was pretty clear that the carbon steel inside those pumps, and concern was that we're supposed to get stainless. Memcor DuPont said no. In fact, everybody we have with those is getting mild steel, but we'll give you the internals to rebuild them with stainless steel on our dime. So I thought Clark and Johnny did a great job working through that in a very professional way, getting Memcor DuPont to put that on their dime at euros. You also have to pay for the labor. Good job. Biosolids dewatering improvements update, like I said, Zach's 60 model. Revit model team working on that last week, so I think we'll have some better results here pretty soon. Reduce storage reservoirs is on pause to help control budgets. Come back to that in a year or two. Reuse management. Sarah Coachella's here. She's working on that with Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson got to go to the Egypt, Belgium World Cup game yesterday. See how we're still working on that. We've had some correspondence with EQ regarding our request to have Class A-1 status verified, and they asked for essentially more time. Which is not surprising, but is we'll have to balance that with the production of the reuse management plan. Their email talked about having us finish that, maybe submit that to them, and then they address their maybe some of their regulatory things to accommodate what we're doing here. So
how much more time? And I'm just asking because on a daily basis, I get asked if people can connect.
okay,
If you could get that out of DEQ, the rest of us would be very intrigued on how you got that information. They're never very clear on the timeline, so
okay.
We would say, again, we're setting regulation, and we're going to be the guinea pig for DEQ on what that regulation is going to look like. So we do want them to be sound because we're going to be asking for a lot of deviations for this. So I do agree with them and Scott that we probably should have our plan pretty good to go up there and actually sit down and go over some.
Okay.
Who's looking at it?
So several HOAs, Lindsay's smiling at me, around the golf course are ready to go right now, just so you guys are aware. We have genuine interest.
It used to be so cumbersome tying into the golf course system and this and this.
So new development though, that's going in, and they're considering it right now, they want to.
Yeah, it was not hooking up tomorrow. I just remember it was cumbersome to.
One builds, one, I can think of 2 right off the top of my head, right?
Okay, no, it's just,
Ready.
I remember how tough it was to get, it all dovetailed on the system.
Is all that linked back to the irrigation pump for the golf course that they want to look into
Yes.
the HOAs down here, so you're kind of living over there. Or irrigating at night or whatever, but that would be the time that they would be able to use it.
eventually that would get trickier. But so far, it's been easy to recognize the entire. Setting feet off there, just so folks know. So we have a detailed model for that, but I anticipate something can have some scare right now to say. Golf course needs to do it now, HOAs should do it now.
Yeah. So
It's, I think too, like, that's good to know, because I think it's gonna be on.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the truth, and then I don't, how does that factor into like how much nitrogen we're putting in the ground, and like, that's complex, right?
that's probably not as big a deal.
We're not putting any nitrogen in the ground, essentially. The one is shocking. Two is widely defined as limited technology unless you have something. So I told the golf course guys this too, that essentially it's negligible what nitrogen are getting from the district now. It's not wholly negligible. Your golf's on commercial fertilizer all of it. We're on golf course.
Okay.
Hopefully they're doing that. That's their responsibility.
The biggest thing with why we put all to that is because of points of diversion. The current standard says we own it all the way to the end user. And so I don't feel I can be responsible for the end user, because once it goes past a certain point, I get control. So I can't be out there policing and regulating all these users. So we wanted to find reuse management plan. We want a refined model on how we're going to use it and grow it, and permits, and work from there. So
I think it's just like a lot more work has to go into it. I mean, it's a great concept, but if the golf course, if they have their irrigation window, it's 2,000 gallons, whatever it is, and you have all these other HOAs or homeowners that want to use it, it's a pain in the, you know what? It's like there needs to be a lot more effort that has to go into how you manage it.
Hydraulic issue with town center is connected to the golf course under 64 at some point. That it's just hard to pressurize all that. If more purple pipe reuse comes on town center, there's going to be some limit to that distribution system. You know, go upsize some pipe.
So really, just we got to build the reuse management plan so we can build the infrastructure, because at some point in time we're going to have to look to separate the golf course from it.
For sure. Then if the firelight comes into play, read those wells. So there's another pipeline over there anyways. And for all that.
Oh yeah. Well, you heard me say
to have the booster. That's why
you're building the third.
Yeah,
you're building the third leg of the infrastructure. So I said it jokingly, but you made a very good point that, I got a 10-year, $50 million reuse infrastructure that I've got to put in place. So, rates, usage, how we're going to do it. So it's going to be a bit. But first we've got to get the plan, we got to get the regulation, and we got to get all that stuff. So I love that we're getting the calls and we have the demand for it. It's great. But there's a right way that it needs to be done, and we're at that emphasis. So
well, I'll use that to apply pressure to not anything here. We have people waiting on us.
Thank you.
Firelight Meadows, we have not done any work in the last month because we're waiting on Jeff's negotiations, correct?
We're waiting on a response from HOH, so.
That's next week, right? Time limits up.
So I don't think we actually set a time limit. I think we said we wanted a response in 30 days, but at our last meeting, I think that came up that we didn't set it. But after the 30 days, I think we're going to reach back out if we don't hear from them and set like a 1 or 2 week deadline after that.
Okay. So Firelight Meadows just in a holding pattern. The canyon, we provided you with updated cost estimates that did include some of that 4 to 10% sort of current shot to pricing that we're seeing. That we're using the term that shocked some people, and we got a lot of blowback on that. So we sat down and wrote the tech memo, and sort of a long process here, but the district decided that we recognized that, hey, the 12 million that was originally allocated to the Highway 64 corridor for your all's infrastructure that you were going to operate, why can't we use that for soft costs as well and have A2S try to push that forward, the Highway 64 really trying to get through MDT, as MDT's been the bear. And That was generally agreed to. We've worked up some rough scoping on that. Schedule.
To confirm, because we settled 20% contingency, and so we're trying to confirm to bring that contingency number down even more. Or get it into a reasonable.
Yeah, to do a little bit of value engineering with you and your team, because your new team hadn't even really, you all didn't drive the design in the first place. It is at the 60% and saying, can we pull some of this stuff out a little bit and then there's also 10% or something. No massive swings. So we're going to work on that. The first thing you all asked us to do though is give you a realistic schedule for what that all looks like, because if it's 5 years, the community needs to know that. So we started doing that, and I was trying to get in touch with the individual that was tagged to do the slope stability analysis on what they call it talus block. It pins in on 64 on the north side. It took me 2 weeks to track him down because he's extremely busy. Finally, I could call him today. And when WGM had him first engage Mace probably a year ago, I think, I didn't realize all this, but he said, you know, first TBH has been our geotech in the can. Greg Nago's been down there twice doing bores and sampling and refused essentially to do the slope stability analysis. Said that's not really our wheelhouse. You should contact Tom Lorenzen, HMH, Missoula, who's an expert on slope stability analyses, and perhaps more importantly, he's a former NDT geotech. So finally got a hold of Todd. Todd said, look, the issue is what NDT is demanding with that slope stability analysis cannot be done. I can't do it. It has to do with the models of what's in the subsurface. And he said what they're asking for is impossible. He's also frustrated that TBH neglected. TBH said, I don't want to do that. And now Todd's doing it. He's like, why would I take that liability? Which is very extreme. He said, what you need to do is just have that section bore inject versus open cut. And so I said, well, this is all good news, and in a little bit of good news in that it bumps the schedule up, that we're not going to try to go through NDT and prove to them with the slope stability analysis that we can build this pipeline. But I want him on the team to explain this to everybody because it's over my skill set. So that he's going to be on our team as an explainer, help us negotiate with NDT. Look, we're not going to show you a slope stability analysis. We want to build this section here with the contractor doing bore injecting, and perhaps we can schedule it a little bit if we can get them to sign off. Yep. And him having, I think it was 10 years there, should hopefully help with those negotiations. So the schedule we created Friday is now obsolete. I'll update it. Show it to you all. See if it's giving us a year to go get the drillers, to get the data, to do the slope stability analysis that our understanding is. Yeah. Even if we went and got the geotech data, he doesn't want to do the model. He doesn't think that the model satisfies the standard care.
Can I jump in for a couple minutes, Scott? I was planning on bringing this up when we got to the Mace part, but since we're talking Canyon and the detail you have, I think what's been happening over the last 6 to 8 months or so is we've been meeting pretty regularly with a BizRad committee, our committee, which has been Jerad, myself, and at times Brian, different combinations of us, and trying to work through how we get to where this needs to be, because it seems like the whole project's sort of at a standstill. Something needs to happen, but nobody has the money to do it. And without spending the money to do it, we can't get the answers of how we proceed. And at our last joint meeting, I'll say it, I presented the concept then maybe we need to go to resort tax. And ask to use some of the 12 million that's been allocated for this project to get some of these answers. At the time, we were very high level, a number was thrown out that it could be up to $1 million of that number. Now, that's a, kind of grab, so I don't want to say we analyze it to the level of detail. I think AE2S put some time behind it, but we don't have bids or steps, and it may not even be all of that number, because things like this come up where we go, oh, wait a minute, we don't have to do that, so maybe that changes the number. But to let you guys know, what we want to do in this meeting is make sure that we're proceeding as this board wants us to do. Because we've been careful, and resort tax has been careful to say, generally the people in this room agree with the direction we're headed, but this hasn't been necessarily run by our board, and it certainly hasn't been run by the resort tax board. What I was asking is, do we think it's worth asking that question? From my perspective, if we can't do that, I don't know how we proceed. Because we don't have answers. And how do we get really comfortable with how much that connection is going to cost? And not that I want to downplay an engineer's estimate, but it's an engineer's estimate. It has a lot of unknowns. And so some of what we'd be talking about is spending some money to try to shore up some of these uncertainties and have a better feel. We then met with the Canyon Board because we said to them, if you're not behind this project, we've heard talks of a standalone approach. We're wasting our time asking resort tax. Well, first we'd be wasting the money, which we certainly don't want to do. We're not going to go in this direction. Make sure you're behind the co-solution. And it doesn't come without risk. Obviously, there are things we could find that tell us to go in a different direction. But we also have to recognize that a lot of investments already been made with phase 2 and the canyon in mind. And personally, I'll just speak for myself, I have a very difficult time accepting that phase 2 wasn't designed with the canyon in mind, just because it creates so many more SFEs. Where do those get used, if not partially in the canyon? And the canyon helps justify that volume of additional SFEs, so we don't find ourselves in another position where we're looking at inventory that we don't need, or that we're not using and we're spending. So these pieces all come into play, and I'm kind of looking at Jeff in the back, since he represents Firelight. The phase 2 obviously helps us do Firelight, but we've got to make sure phase 2 is justifiable. So we refer to the pinch point all the time down there as a landmark. Well, I feel like we're at a similar pinch point, if you will, with this whole project. If we can't spend a little bit of that money to find out the details. Oh, wait, let me take a step back. We met with the Canyon Board and they support the concept as well. Everybody that I spoke to down there has said, we prefer the joint solution, but some have also said, but we're running out of time because we have to start making some decisions. And if we make these decisions and spend money here, we don't have the same amount of money to spend with the joint solution. And obviously resort tax patience has run thin, I'll call it, because they put a deadline with next July to get an answer done. So this is not, the request that we'd be making is not consistent with the message resort tax is given. But I think they may understand the logic behind it. And while I won't say that the committee members, the resort tax committee members aren't saying this will get approved, but I think they've expressed that they support us making the request and getting at the temperature of the board of dedicating some funding to push this forward and find the answers we need. What would that give us? Well, sometime by fall, and that's where Scott's timeline comes into play. Sometime in the fall, we can get our arms around a better, more reliable number that could then be presented to resort press for fun. We don't want to, a $12 million number was put before resort tax and it was voted on by the community. And we know that's not enough today. Whether that was enough then, I don't know, but it's not enough today. So we know that number is greater. To get the community or a greater portion of the community unified in how we handle our wastewater is going to take a connection to that point. So this kind of pushes it forward. I think I see three kind of big decision-making points coming if we proceed the way I'm proposing. One is we have a June 23rd committee meeting where we hope to report back that our board is in support of this concept and that we want to push this forward and get on the July 8th resort tax board meeting agenda. That's when we would officially make the request to use some of those funds. And I think by then we hope to have a better number of what we anticipate spending from that 12 million to dedicate to getting some of these answers. And it's kind of a tiered approach. As we get through the first section, we get the right answers, then we proceed to what's next. If we don't get the right answers, there may be some sub decision points in there. But assuming resort tax approves using some of that funding, that allows us to answer some of these questions and get a little bit more certainty on what the project entails, which then allows us to get our arms better around what it's going to cost. And then we can go to resort tax in the community with what that number is and better understand, is the community still behind this concept? Do they see the value in spending? Because it's more expensive to connect, but in the long run, is that better for this community? I think the consensus is agreement, but what's so challenging in this process is what are we willing to spend to do it? And I don't have that answer. And we don't even know what the cost is. We have a really solid guess, but fine tuning that and spending some time value engineering that and going back to say, we feel confident that that range is X dollars more than the original 12 million. And that's what we need to get this thing done. Will be what I call the third decision tier, and we'll decide if we ultimately move forward on this project. I know it's a little uncomfortable for some of the canyon because it's gone on for a while, but I think they recognize that the joint solution in the long run gets us where we need to be. I mean, I hate to use the comparison, but on one hand, we're looking at a firelight that's a standalone system that 20 years ago worked just fine, and now we are where we are. And now we have an opportunity, in my mind, to avoid that risk in the future. But it's going to take this connection point. And so what I'm asking the board, I wanted one, you to understand what we've been working on as a committee. Two, understand what we're asking. And I certainly don't want to ask that without knowing that I can say, I'm speaking now on behalf of the Big Sky Water and Sewer District Board that supports spending these additional funds so we can get these answers, get our arms around what the project's going to take, what it's going to cost, and allow us to then go back to resort tax with that number for approval. So I know I threw a lot at you, and I know it took more than a couple minutes, but I think this meeting, it was time to have that discussion to understand what's going on. And again, I want the board members that weren't in those meetings to know we were speaking as individuals, but we've now gotten to that, I'll call it again, that pinch point where it made sense to come back to our board and say, are we behind this? It sounds, we've got the support of the Canyon Board. We've got generally the committee support understands that this is where we need to go. And so I'm making that request. If we don't support it, I would say at this point, the Canyon project would die, at least for now. And I would suspect that some portion of the Canyon would do some kind of a standalone system to meet their limited needs for the people they can support now. It would also likely mean a bigger challenge for getting some of the challenges in the Canyon on board. I don't know where that funding would necessarily come from to get them up to it.
I'm in favor of making the request to the tax board.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm in favor.
I hope so.
I just clarify a couple things, and it was a little foggy with maybe some people in these subcommittee meetings. First of all, I really solidify that statement that the canyon was anticipated, or you wouldn't have gone to a $12 million vote, number one. And the 12 million was approved by the 70-something% margin to connect the canyon with the district. That's what that 12 million is. So it's not like you're going to resort tax for a special request. You're just saying, hey, can we utilize the funds that have been approved by the ratepayers or by the BizRad district. Second, there's just no question. That $7 million for the trains was to connect with this dovetailed with it. And then number three, this is just use of the funds that the voters approved. I mean, it would be really reckless not to do and spend this type of money for the due diligence associated with that corridor right there. This tells you stop wasting money or move forward, one of the two. And just as a reminder, without that corridor, the canyon doesn't connect to the Big Sky Water and Sewer District. So it's basically a stepping point along the way.
I think we need an answer, and I think that's how we get the answer, and then we know if it's with or without. And I think that's a critical path, our own critical path as well.
Yeah.
We have to know.
Yeah.
And I just want to add to it too, because people will also see, well, you've just done a bunch of annexations. All those annexations already come with paper capacity that we're already committed to. So we're not adding anything new. We're just adding what we already accounted for through full waste agreements or SFE pools and stuff like that. So it truly is Canyon's new, Firelights new. This is not in our current capacity and where we're at. Where it does lie is the dormant inventory that we have that we feel could be utilized now versus later, but you still got to have that redundancy and know that redundancy is coming.
This is make or break for the canyon connecting to the district, but this is not make or break for the plant expansion. It's just not. I mean, there's going to be a modeling that would need to be confirmed, but it's make or break for them to connect, but it's not make or break for us to expand. Don't want to have you panicked over there that this is something. Firelight, I guess we're out.
Voting on it. I mean, it's to do that. You just push it all down.
Come on, who is
Here, check this out.
Yeah,
that was happening in the beginning.
It's Peter.
Yes. I'm on it.
you can mute him. Click that.
No, I don't know if he's talking to us or not.
Hey guys, I hear you. Yep, I definitely support the ask to BizRad to release the funds to do the engineering. We need to know what we're in store for and if this is even feasible. So I support that.
Johnny, can I supplement real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Al's recap was perfect and covers my recap. That's next on the agenda. My only supplement is the Canyon District essentially made a similar request to the BizRad board in February and March to be able to tap the $12 million pot for soft costs. And at that moment in time, they didn't have that appetite. I don't know if it was legal limitations tied to the funds and it was coming specifically more as a Canyon District. Here's the steps we need to do to keep the coast solution going. So yeah, just let you know that their board has heard this once 4 or 5 months ago. And yeah, I'm curious their appetite now. So
yeah, I think through that clarification, Mace, that through the interlocal agreement that request has to come from our movement because it was voted on with our plan. So that's our understanding, in our chunk of the corridor, and that's where we're responsible for. And really, we've been kind of sitting behind the scenes for the last few years, and now through this, it's like, look, we're taking the lead on this, and we got to get the answer to this stuff. Thing that may have been the difference, but again, Answer's always no until you ask.
Yep, agree.
Thank you, Mace.
Thanks, Mace. I'm glad I didn't misspeak.
No, it was perfect. I'm glad you gave the tea leaves answer because it's never easy to read the whole audience. So
Okay, so we'll keep working on giving you a scope and B estimate for this. Bulk of the work is to get the reality, the right of ways and easements to do the job. No. I think process in the process.
Yeah, and as long as, it's probably good if you guys keep talking with us to understand how we subsequent to getting those answers, be able to get our arms around what that cost is gonna look like.
Water master plan is done, including the every GIS dashboard. Are you all using that and like that?
I think we're gonna do that.
Okay. We need a tour from.
We still have the draft. So if it's complete, I think David was on, we need the final.
The final delivery being the electronic dashboard. You haven't been walked through that. No. We'll work on that. Ryan, I believe we covered what you've been doing the last month. Is that true?
Yep, there is still some canyon kind of discussions that these WIC and SIC updates we specifically kind of calculated, but that's really the only other thing.
Okay. I see SCADA, James has been helping you all with retuning the feedback loops on the irrigation pump station that were causing some issues, and it's identified the need to maybe get more data in the future from golf course irrigation operation to make sure those pumps are off when the golf course is not irrigating. Spread. Then helping you with all my server stand up. District engineering services, I met with you all to go over our invoices from the past 6 months or so when we hit budget, and then we revised the task order to divide it up into the 4 tasks that you see here. We're going to add a 5th. David's already done it with you, which is the standard specs and drawing updates you're having to do, which is underway. Anna sent a brief update yesterday. Ryan and James are pretty much done with the financial support task order, the INC task order, breaking those out basically so they're standalone, easier to track. Zach still needing his operations assistance task order. Those would all be T&M essentially. We'll have a number in there just so everybody can use their budgets, but then splitting out those bills so they don't all hit at once. What we've done this past 6 months or so. John.
Yeah, so that's how we got it broke out in the budget. The only thing that I need David and Donovan is when we send in modeling information. We definitely need that kept separate because we invoice the developer once that's complete. So when they complete the technical memo, my expectation is that they also send me an invoice for that project at that time too, so we can also get them the invoice to pay for this.
That's what they'll do with Montana Club, the work they're having to do right now, that they can truly be sent to Montana Club. Don't pay it along. Okay. Sweetgrass, mostly get started on that preliminary engineering report, working with Northwest Energy with power off. Mostly we did attend the Big Sky Water shed. I'd say stewardship. That was great. Kristen organized that. I just wanted to say that I thought one of the most impactful presentations I saw was Mike Richter's on the horse corrals. You all putting out 1 milligram per liter, maybe 3 on a typical day. You spent $60 million to do that, and yet we still have dozens and dozens of horses and horse manure right on the banks of 2 streams in the area. You know, we have great streams, extremely low hanging fruit. We'd love to see us all work together.
Kristen, look, you've heard this as long as I have. 14 years for me of hearing about LaFont Ranch. I mean, people stopping me on it. I remember a neighbor that lived right adjacent to that property saying, when are you guys going to do something about that? He's no longer with us now, but he was furious about that to me years. What do we do? It's not within our control or purview, whatever, however you do it, it's an issue. And it's going to really hit us as we look at lifting the impairment coming through there.
Well, and that's through meeting with Emily and Kristen's team, and some of the plans that they have, and they got a little bit of insight to our plan and Harvey's management plan. There's an idea that, you know, through some of the things that we would like to do, you could probably solve that issue.
Can we get a little tighter than that? I mean, it has been a 14-year deal.
Our base is still on here. One time we talked about annexing them, potentially giving them reuse water and moving the horses off the North Fork.
So here's the thing, Blue Mountain that is already in our district. But
they have septics.
Just one.
They have one.
Okay.
I think more than one, but they are mostly on the system.
Is that
okay?
I thought that there was a break in that piece. I thought that they were looking for annexation on some properties at one point, and they were looking for SFEs. Does it cut through that piece?
Yeah, so the new cabins coming in, and then at one point in time, at the entrance, they were looking to do employee housing.
Right.
They wanted to hook up to our water system they've kind of put that all on hold. I haven't talked to them in a couple of years, and Mason and I talked about, you know, kind of just getting an update from them. They just remodeled the old cook's cabin up on the hill that's on a septic tank, but there is a central sewer line that goes right through the middle of the property, and we've got a guy on the other end of it that is also tied to that. So it's their water system. Their initial portion of the branch does come to us. But it is a source for irrigation and snowmaking and reuse possibilities, wildland firefighting, stuff like that, which could lead us into, you know, we already haul our biosolids off that we could, you know, during their orchard summers, we could take that on, bring it over, but they'd have to do some mitigation along their horse pasture still, and the river, and tie into what Kristen's crew is doing, is the idea. It hasn't been presented. We haven't talked to them about it, haven't progressed outside of that.
Well, Kristen, it seems like it's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is environmental community. This has got the blinking red light every time you drive by. And the time you really see it is when you get the rain season.
Yep.
The storm drainage up there is unbelievable. It just pops right down. And I mean, those are nice solutions. A little fluffy. It's just, guys, you can't have this. And I'm not anti-ridge. I love the ridge, but you just can't have what's going on.
And this is the difference between our industry and ag, because in biosolids, we are mitigated by 503 regs. We have to have runoff mitigation and all this stuff. And if we have biosolids sitting on a field before it's land applied, we have to have it covered. So it's not raining on and creating all that stuff. Versus an ag, they don't. And so you see these big mounds of horse manure all over the place.
Jake's
and Katie and Benches. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely in my work plan over the next, like, after the field season, try in the fall to get everyone together and try to figure this out.
They impact the community, the environment, and particularly they impact us.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't see us leading the charge in this. I mean, we just got to come up with the highest, most qualified entity to resolve this issue. It's not just 14 years. It's been going on for forever. and that gets packed in.
Yeah.
Forget about the elk herd that was right there too. I mean, you got that going.
It's easier to take care
Yes, yeah, exactly. I can cover that one. It's just when it runs down to the road, you gotta leave Big Sky after you. Yeah, this one, it should be bumped up in the list. It's just, it's just frustrating to.
Like Kristen said, I think it's a group effort from all of us to apply that pressure in the environmental impact.
We can help, we're happy to help, but it is a tough one, this is not your lane.
Well, but we're not, I don't know if we're the most qualified entity to handle this. We're the water and sewer district. Again, it impacts us, but I mean, I know they have, like I said, they had come in. I remember it was like the Keith Brown house or something up above, and they needed something from us back then and this and that. But I don't know if we're the ones who should be bartering or.
How did Mike get MDMG? He did that work through MDMG.
He did, yeah.
Do they have any skin in the game to keep going?
We're gonna take this on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
But you will likely be part of the solution. And be involved, hopefully.
You answered it very clearly. We can't be leading it, but we can be a part of the solution because we're a big part of the impact. It's just a classic flagship project for this community.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, that having horses, that's hot stuff up there. That's hot, coming in hot.
We're burning garden.
Yeah, it would for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I wanna thank Dick for started working here in 2017. It's been an extraordinary example of community service. The work you've done has always been some of the most detailed, hardest work. And been a great example of what it means to serve the community. So we'll miss you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks
We're
for
gonna have
having
to
me.
work extra hard on all the grammar and structures.
I don't want to be known for that.
Can we still send Johnson minister this?
All right. Guess we're on to Mason.
Yeah, I can keep it quick since Al gave a good recap, but just to reiterate, co-solution is the solution until it's proven not feasible. That's kind of the message from the Canyon Board. So they're behind your ask when you do approach BizRad. Big message behind the scenes is developers need to start committing their dollars to something with a 2027 mentality. You might get 2028 type appetite out of some of them, but there's definitely starting to be urgency of they're going to be spending their money on their own solutions. Other elements from the Canyon Board meeting is they have contracted with Benchmark Public Affairs to kind of ramp up a more of a professional PR outreach method to the madness. We'll be meeting with them this week and kind of doing a 3-month ramp up. And so I've kind of kept Johnny apprised behind the scenes that's going, and I'll continue to do that. And then contracting with Krebs for cost estimation, that's all in motion. Our goal is to have kind of that independent cost estimate, third party view of the entire project in a 1-month timeline. So hopefully that starts to shed some light on stuff. So that's my Canyon District Board meeting kind of synopsis.
Like Al stole your thunder.
Yeah, you took the fun stuff, but that's fine.
Okay, good job. Any questions for Mace? Any questions for Al? Good. All right.
Do you need to vote on the board's, willingness to go to the reserve tax, or is that?
I thought it was, and I'm gonna have one in a minute, it was just kind of like, it's tracking with the Canyon.
Yeah.
What the next steps would be. Unless if you feel comfortable, if you'd rather do that easily, we don't.
Good, well said.
That was my sense.
Yeah.
That we don't need a vote because it's prior approved. I just wanted to make sure you knew our direction and we're supported.
Yeah.
I'll add to that and decide either way on this. Al and I have both been working, we've initiated some discussions with Boeing for expanding the reuse opportunities and what we call horse pasture on the other side of the driving range, Cradle Trail, comes through here and Old 15. Two movements that would love to do a project over there, Chris, and we'll have you right at the table on that one. But we've said, look, we've talked about that 2 Moon project for gotta be 8 years, 8 years plus, and some other things. We said it's time that we maybe get some traction on this. And it's evolved into something that could serve a dual purpose with how we negotiate that regarding financial support on the plant expansion. And we've been kind of batting things around, but just wanted to update the board on that, get some feedback or questions on it as we continue to discuss solidifying those options. They're just kind of drifting out there. And I'll go right back to you, Kristen. That work that you did over in the Chapel Spring, that was a game changer in our legal issues in the last year. That was a huge game changer in how we presented that case and the work we can do. We really got a lot of credibility. So rather than let that drift until something goes on, like Boyne builds a short course and then we don't have that option maybe for disposal or for reuse, let's get it all on the table now and see if we can move some of these along. And yeah, here to just share that as we talks going forward. So, any questions on it? And really, is it something that the board supports? Don't want to be out there rogue. Okay. We'll continue down that path as well. See if we can move it forward. Maybe put that on the old business monthly kind of progress updates or updates on.
I see you'll under your committee reports that you guys are.
We can confirm it. I think we're going to confirm the next meeting. We'll talk about next situation. We'll confirm committees, eliminate situation. We all
Next retirement
all paths in today's meeting lead back to Dick
from his second public service career.
Yeah.
So everybody would like to tout that Mr. Dick Fast served in the military for 20 plus years and worked at the Pentagon, which I still need to have lunch so you can tell me all those stories.
A lot more than lunch.
The boring place in the world.
Okay. Johnny, what else we have then?
So under legal update with this, we've talked about this for the last few years. So we knew at the end of this year that through House Bill, I can't remember the House Bill now, but our appointed positions after 2026 would be non-voting. The board decided several years ago that we would go to a 5-member board, which means we have to change the bylaws to reflect that. And so we will, Susan's not on, but it's going to be a very procedural board meeting next month. However, that's going to come at the end. So we'll pretty much conduct the regular board meeting and get through all that stuff, because once Dick does officially retire and the board accepts that, he will no longer be able to vote. So that will trigger the acceptance of the bylaws and then we'll do all the officer stuff after that. So.
Dick had a really good question the other day. I couldn't answer it. And it was, can we get the appointments? Can we go to a 7-member vote that's voted? Elected board?
No.
Okay. Get that one.
I did ask that question and Susan said no.
So that is amazing to me. And what's going to change some of this is just as you talked about the subcommittee meetings, we'll have to keep it absolutely to 2 members.
Yeah, 2 members, which we've already started that protocol today. However, I do have in the plans where you can have a board advisory committee. So the board can take application and appoint specific people to certain committees if we need them.
That's a good option.
So
that are not board members.
That are not board members. They're not voting. However, they can.
You got a subcommittee.
Yeah,
So he's like, for example, Dick Fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, the best example of that would have been a Steve Johnson. That was Steve Johnson's seat.
Or Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart.
Or Kristen Gardner, sorry.
I don't watch too many movies.
Kristen Stewart. But if we're, let's talk, reuse or whatever, the board could appoint qualified people that could sit on that committee.
Thinking about that. We're talking. So okay, there'll be some shuffling. The the subcommittees, we really didn't have subcommittees until 3-4 years ago. Not like this, but they're very effective, and it just seems to streamline the meetings. So
Yeah. And now you're down to your core, which is the budget, benefits, and policy, and my evaluation outside of that.
Yeah.
As of today, we've closed out all the other subcommittees except for the Canyon. So one left.
Okay. That'd be a good meeting next
Did
month.
we have a firelight subcommittee?
No.
We've talked about it. That kind of got wrapped into the BizRad.
It got wrapped into the Canyon too.
Got into the Canyon because it was a part about the plan expansion. Great way to finish it on that discussion on subcommittees. What's the most efficient subcommittee now? I do think Firelight deserves that type of attention, but it goes along with the BizRad plan expansion and goes along with the Canyon. The three of them dovetail. So
It'll be, of course, a separate agreement when they turn in their annexation stuff. But, we're preliminary already haven't been talking about, conditions and.
But see, they sit in you have a lot of impact with the BizRad meeting. And the BizRad meeting, of course, has the Canyon in it. So it's very efficient to have a Firelight representative at the BizRad meeting that covers the Canyon, that covers the plan expansion. All those dovetail into BizRad. And those have been really effective. I mean, it's just amazing sometimes what you can get done in 2 hours. All right, what else?
That is it. Next meeting is July 14th.
Everybody okay on that? Just to make sure.
Week earlier.
No,
What's that?
that's going to be August, right? That's a week earlier.
No. July 14th is the third Tuesday of July.
Can't.
Second. Oh yeah, it was
14th.
Yeah, we were moving in July.
What is that? First day 15, yeah. How did you have regular meeting Tuesday, July 14th?
Because we had made the
Well, we have to go to BizRad on the 23rd. Is that why
we go to the 23rd, but
Go to BizRad on the 8th.
we go to BizRad on the 8th, but I had been told that we needed to move it up a week because you were going to be.
No,
I'm going in August.
August.
that's the one we were thinking about.
August was.
He was August. Okay, we do both of these.
July 21st. Right?
Is everybody good with that?
July 21st would be the date. It would be August.
And I will be gone.
You'd be gone
I'm
August.
gone from August.
Okay, here we go again. Let's start with that July.
July 21st.
Damn, I hate it when Al's right about it. Yeah, the 14th is only the second. If it had been the Wednesday, you could have had first. Thinking about.
I'm running two agendas.
Damn. All right. So we're gonna go to the 21st.
21st on
Check the
July.
box.
Yep.
Got it.
And you're gonna be.
And I did have that. So
Yeah,
So-
I don't get back until the afternoon of the 18th in August. So I'm happy to have you guys go on without me.
can we do the 19th? Just for efficiency and keeping.
We could. I don't know how that, I don't want to screw up everybody else's schedule just because of me.
Well, I'm not asking you. How about what would we rather do? I think it'd be great to have, especially you're in the heat of the battle on a lot of what's going on in the Canyon.
And
So
Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I've got my hammer on.
I'll take a latte and what's best for the team? Al's out the 18th. I think it would be great to have,
19th.
especially with the 5-member board. We can start
Start the 19th.
19th. You okay then? Peter Manka?
Yeah, we're talking about the August 19th?
yeah,
Yeah, that works. But July, we're sticking with the 17th.
21st.
Oh,
No,
July, we're going
to
to
14th. Normally.
July
Okay,
21st, August 19th.
19th.
Okay, yeah, I won't be present for July then. I had it mapped out for the 17th. Or wait, that is the.
The
Sorry.
17th would be a Friday.
No. Okay, you said July just now, Peter. Can you make July 21st?
July 21st.
That's the standing meeting. The
Yeah,
third.
that's the standing meeting. Gotcha. Yep. TBD, but I'll work on it. August is
Okay.
fine though.
And
we're-
now, go to the August scheduled meeting is on the 18th.
Yep.
Can you make the Wednesday, the 19th? Would that work for you, Peter? Would it make? any
Yes.
difference?
Yep. Not a problem.
Great. So can we lock in those two meetings then right now?
Yep.
Before I make another mistake.
Yes.
Get,
Before I make another mistake.
yeah, don't do that again, Sean.
Awesome. I already got an invite from somebody before the.
Yeah, so I had to redo the invite. Somehow I disappeared off of our office calendar. And so I sent out a new one. So I asked you to delete the current one before you accepted the new one. So we did get confused, but I sent out a new invite yesterday with the new people and adjusted it, but somehow it disappeared off of our office calendar. I don't understand.
I thought it was swinging.
No.
Well, it's your high tech stuff.
I just have it out there, so hopefully it pops up and reminds you. So especially when we start moving.
Okay.
But I'll double check, so if you see.
But everybody's okay on this.
So you'll send a new invite.
Yeah, I gotta send a new one for August, so.
And I liked your optimism in the invite that the meeting would be from 8 to 8:30.
Well, you know, if you will it hard enough, it becomes, because for me, I have to sit through this again. To edit it and mark it and do the minutes and all that stuff, so.
And Johnny, your September meeting, since we're all here, we might as well hit it one more time. September meeting at the Wilson is?
Monday. Yeah, I took it off the agenda because you
already brought it up once today, just making sure everybody's available.
Monday.
Dick put it on yours because you won't get the notice.
Monday the 21st at the Wilson at 5. Doors open at 5 and meeting starts at 6.
I got it in my calendar.
The 21st.
That is Yom Kippur, just so everybody knows. Starts.
It's the only time the Wilson had open, so we had to back it up.
Got it. Okay, we have our schedule set.
Before we wrap up, Brian, I don't know if everyone knows Jen Clancy. Jen, thanks for coming.
No. Jen, thanks for coming.
Jack is moving on and invited Jen. Thank you for coming, Jen.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
She's the new Jack, so if we refer to you as Jack.
She's Jen.
Well.
Thanks for having me.
21st.
5 o'clock. Doors open at 5. It's district on tap. We're gonna have some beer and some hors d'oeuvres or whatever, finger food. Best meeting ever. So yeah. We'll get them all loosened up and feeling good, and then we'll hit them with ours.
Cool.
Good, Brian?
I think we're great. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
So moved.